So, uh, it's weird. We got, after all these episodes of talking about big things are coming, or big stuff's coming, right?
Hmm.
We finally got, uh, we finally have, last episode, at the end of the episode, we announced that, like, the official date for the watch parties. And, I mean, as we're recording this, we're a couple days from that date.
2 days.
2 days. And that is pretty exciting. I'm excited. I don't know. It's going to be really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, you sound really excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Friday, if you're listening to this at 8 o'clock. But who know? I know this episode won't come out before then, will it?
No, it's going to come out next week. Early next week.
So at this point, we're already past it, and we had a great time.
Let's make predictions.
Everybody for coming around. I can't believe some of that one thing that happened. Unbelievable. But yeah, we watched Splash, which is...
We're like talking to ourselves in the future.
That like hadn't seen Splash before, because I think that's, it's a funny idea for a movie, but it's also like it's a good movie.
I've never seen it, and I was telling Emma what the first movie was after we talked about it, and she was like, oh, I was like, have you ever heard of it? She's like, oh, I know Splash. I guess that's like a movie that her and her sister like watched when they were younger, and it's like a very like iconic movie in their childhood or whatever. But like, I was like, I can't believe you actually like watched it. I never even like seen it before. I didn't even hear about it before we did the movie Milk bit
on the TV show back in the day.
And she was like, no, what I was like, she was like, no, like that. I loved that movie when I was a kid. It was great. So yeah, I thought that was a very iconic movie. So I'm excited to look into it. I'm excited to watch it after some of the things I heard from her and like you, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun movie for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. It's got a little bit of everything you need, but it's definitely a movie that you can sit and talk about for like a long time.
Yeah,
like not just appreciate, but also probably poke fun at, I guess, is the best way to put it.
You know what's weird? There was like a boom of mermaid movies for a time. Not a boom. They didn't all come out around the same time, but I mean, like, I feel like mermaid movies don't exist anymore, but they used to like have this weird like
Right.
So for example, there was Splash, which I think started it, or at least was one of the firsts. And then after Splash, we got the 13th Year, which is a little different.
Right, which was years later.
That is years later.
I don't know what year that came out.
2000. Wait, was that 90s or early 2000s?
It looks 90s, but I bet you it was 2000. I'll double check right now, but keep going.
The 13th Year, which is like an iconic movie from my childhood. Like that movie is just...
I could talk about the 13th Year for
such
a long
weird
time.
movie, dude. So anyways,
1999.
Yeah.
The kid who stars in it, his name is Ches Starbuck.
Ches Starbuck!
That's amazing.
That is a great name.
And shout out to Justin John Ross, who plays Jess Wheatley, one of the greatest characters in the history of all TV movies.
Oh my god. So, Jesus Christ. They, so 13th Year, and then there was that other mermaid movie, shit, what's the name of it? I've seen it before. It's with the 3 teenage girls.
Yeah, and there was a show, Aqua Marie, isn't that
Aquamarine is the movie. Yeah. And then there was a show that takes place on Australia, and that's called like H2O or something like that.
That's right. I forgot about that Australia part.
Like, why are there so many like? It's interesting because now we look back. It's interesting because there was just this weird like time of when there'd be like cheesy mermaid movies, and now there's like no more. I don't know. It's it's just a weird.
Sure,
Not that they're.
it's almost like a subgenre.
It's very
That's
strange.
gone away.
Not that there needs to be any mermaid
with the new
movies.
live action Little Mermaid, maybe
True.
there'll be a resurgence.
You're right.
By that.
That's what all us mermaid fans are hoping
for. Us merheads. You probably just call them mer people. Like it's the same thing as like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
nickname.
people would count Aquaman, but I don't think Aquaman counts.
Aquaman. That Aquaman is not a mermaid movie. That's so funny. You can tweet us if you think Aquaman is in fact a mermaid movie,
a debate.
But I don't think so. And it's definitely not the type of mermaid movie that we're talking about. If it is in fact a mermaid movie at all. But they don't have like tails. They don't have mermaid tails because that's a big part. That's a massive part of the mermaid genre is like hiding the tail and stuff, dealing with the tail.
You have to have your romance in there too, man. Like every mermaid movie has romance. Whether now the romance differs from movie to movie. For example, in the 13th year, he doesn't fall in love with the mermaid because the mermaid's his mom, even though there's some weird sexual vibes there. Like...
Well, it's interesting that you say that,
dude.
Because there is the character of the mermaid mother is very sensual in that movie, without a doubt.
It's so strange. It's so strange. But anyhow, I guess you could kind of count. No, you can't. Never mind. That movie doesn't exist. We don't have to talk about it. I was gonna say Pirates of the Caribbean 4, but doesn't exist.
Not a mermaid movie.
Doesn't exist. We don't have to talk about it. It's not a movie, honestly. That movie is equivalent to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull for me, honestly.
That's crazy because it's not nearly as bad.
No, it's not nearly as bad, but it's pretty bad still. Anyhow, welcome to Film Juice, show where we talk about mermaids, movies, TV shows, entertainment.
Welcome to Mermaid Truthers.
I'm your host.
Getting to the bottom of the ocean's deep and secret.
I'm your host, John Finley.
John Finley, nice fish pun.
Thank you. I worked. It took me probably 2 seconds longer to think of that than it should have. Anyhow, we're excited. Anyways, I don't know how we got on that topic, but we're excited for watch parties. Oh yeah, we're excited for watch parties. Excited for the watch party this week. If we're gonna plug it both sides of the show, but while we're here, I guess they're not gonna hear this in the this doesn't come out anyways, so never mind. There's actually no reason to plug the date or time or anything for it.
Thanks for watching.
I burped. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a really fun time, and it's if you did miss it, I can plug this. If you did miss it, it will be on the YouTube page, and you can very conveniently still watch along because there's going to be a timestamp on the overlay, and it's going to tell you like where we're at, and you can just sync up your movie where you're at, and there you go. It's the movie's on Disney Plus. The Splash one in particular is on Disney Plus. If you don't have Disney Plus, watch it however you want to watch it. But doesn't matter. The time maintains the same over whatever you watch it on.
Sure.
So that's cool. And yeah, I'm excited about that. So I think we're excited about it, and I'm excited to do more too. Like, I don't know, it's gonna be sick. Anyhow.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's get into the show today. We have a lot to talk about. Probably rambled too much in the intro already. I guess, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning because it just came out yesterday, and it's the most recent, and it's separate from everything else that's come out, because a lot of movie news this week. Like, holy shit, a lot of movie news this week. Let's first talk about, there was a Tom Cruise audio clip that surfaced on the internet yesterday. It was probably just leaked by one of the people who work there. Or I don't know.
We're gonna get into that.
We are gonna get into that. There is a few things to talk about with it, which is very interesting. So that's actually a good point too. So anyhow, it surfaced on the internet, and basically it's Tom Cruise, going off on a tangent. Maybe I'll play it here, and I'll like cut us off here. But who knows? If I don't, you can listen to it right now, wherever you're listening. You can just turn it on. Anyhow,
there's a thing called the internet. You can listen to things on it. Good God, Joe.
We were just talking about prefacing, and I still am doing it. Okay, so we, Jesus Christ. Basically, Tom Cruise is yelling at cruise members on the set of Mission Impossible 7. Is it Mission Impossible 7? Yeah. And yeah, they're on 7 already. And basically he's yelling at members of the crew because they weren't taking I don't think he gets into specifics, but basically they weren't taking COVID protocols seriously. And he goes on this huge tangent about about why that's...
I wouldn't say tangent is the right word. He's like yelling at them.
Yeah.
Tangent is when you...
You're right. He's going on this... He's basically yelling at them and...
Yeah, he's giving like this long kind of speech.
Yeah, and he's like just basically stating all the reasons why like that is not acceptable. And I'm not going to go through all the points he makes because you can just listen to it yourself, and it's a good listen, and it's 30 seconds. But anyhow, what did you I don't know, what did you think about it when you first heard it?
Tom Cruise yelling at you, I have to imagine you brings up a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
Fear, but also like I don't think like Tom Cruise is very short, we know that.
Yeah.
But I think that that does not like factor in when he's yelling at you like crazy, because he's
a presence.
In charge of those shoots. Like like Tom Cruise chooses the director. Like he's in charge on the Mission Impossible shoots. Like he's the guy. Like whatever he says goes.
He's Orson Welles.
And obviously he's one of the biggest movie stars of all time. Yeah, Les Grossman. And so what he says goes. And he's, I mean, powerful dude in that situation. And obviously a guy who, when you get to his level of fame, that definitely comes with a certain amount of confidence, I think. And so, I mean, he is like tearing into these guys.
Yeah.
And the main point is, you know, if you like, you need to be safe because people are out of work right now, especially with film shoots and stuff. So,
and they're making jobs.
Right, exactly. So, and the only way we can work is if we're safe. And so if you're not going to be safe, you're out of here. You're done. He keeps saying that to people.
Yeah.
And it reminded me a lot of back in the day being yelled at by Marines, because when you're yelled at by a figure like that, you can't say sorry, and it feel like you don't hear the other people. Obviously, not that they could really get in a word in edgewise, but there's no when you're getting yelled at by a figure like Tom Cruise in this situation, you can't go like, sorry, dude. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I know it's just like listen to what I'm saying, and and understand it, and then just do it. Like, there's no like, I'm sorry, like it won't happen again. Like that's not, and that's one of the things that he basically yells at these people. And it was crazy. He was like, you're out of here, and you too. Listen, like you, and you're gonna cost him his job. And it was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
I wish there was video for it. I like it's.
Nah, dude, that's too scary.
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same thing with the Christian Bale rant. I
would like to see video of.
I would like to see video of that too. But like, I remember when like the audio for that came out too. It's the same thing. I really want to see the video of it. Now, obviously, both very different contexts there. So I'm not
We
comparing them
talked
in that
about this for a
respect.
second before, but I think
Yeah.
that the reason that people are comparing them so much is, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's like a huge star yelling
Yeah.
at somebody, but the tone is very similar because it's just anger, right? It's just a
Yeah.
tone of anger. And also, both of the recordings, you're only hearing one side.
True. True.
So that makes the figure that you're hearing seem even more, for lack of a better term, I guess, powerful, like in what they're saying,
But
because you're only getting that one side.
I will say I think there is a different. Obviously they're different, but the I think you're getting a little bit more of the different sides in the Christian Bale one because people are like trying to tell him to calm down because I
Okay.
mean you don't like I don't know because the reason he was yelling in that was like if you think it was justifiable or not, but um I think it was people were like, "Hey, just calm down. Like this isn't like a huge deal." When in the Tom Cruise scenario, there was really no, like you said, there was no arguing at all. And I'm not saying there was like a lot of arguing in the Christian Bale one because he did like obviously he shut him up every time he tried to talk. He was like, "No, no!" It was like crazy. But and he even tried to like he got like physical with that guy too though. Like he like they had to like hold him back in that one part. But anyhow, enough about that. But yeah, it's very interesting.
I
I
don't know.
what?
I don't know if it is enough about that, Joe. I got a few more things to maybe say,
No, no, no,
which
no,
is
no,
that
no. I was talking about the Christian
the
Bale,
Christian Bale thing. Oh, okay, good.
thing.
We're still on old Cruisy.
Yes, 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 yes. We are still on old Cruisy. I was just gonna say, I personally thought it was, I don't know, I kind of I actually I don't kind of I agree with every
Hmm.
point he made in the statement that he was saying, and I I don't know I support it. I thought it obviously seemed like it had to be said and it
Uh
had to
huh.
be done, and I don't know. It's weird. I do want to say this before because I think I know where you're going with the next point, but I do just want to say
Okay.
this. I think it's interesting because Tom Cruise has a weird history, like the whole Scientology thing, and
What's that?
so like I don't know. It's like but it's so hard not to like the guy. Like even though he has this weird past and like this whole Scientology thing's very strange, and I don't know enough about it to like I don't know. I don't know enough about that whole thing other than he's a part of it or he was a part of it. I don't know if he still is. Um,
Oh yeah, he's
he
yes.
is. So
When you're in as deep as Tom Cruise, you don't leave.
then there you go. So like that's an obviously weird thing, but like it's so and that corporation is like awful. Obviously, it's just so hard to not like him though. Like it's so strange. He doesn't come when all I'm trying to say I guess is I forget about the Scientology shit all the time and then like
Hmm.
because he's like such a charismatic guy
Yeah.
and then you're like how is he even connected to this? Like that's like it always makes me feel like there has to be more to like this guy that we're not, and obviously there probably is, but it's very interesting. That's the one thing that always pulls me back and is like but there's still
Hmm.
this. So like I don't know, that's and I think that's gonna go into your point a little bit. It's like he man's a good actor,
Yeah, and he is charismatic. And Tom Cruise is one of the is like what I think is going to start to become considered like old school actors, like
Mm-hmm.
him, Clooney, Pitt are guys that less so Brad Pitt, but we
Oh yeah,
when it
Pitt's
comes to
great.
things excluding their dating life,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know much about them. They keep a lot to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
which is the complete opposite of the way everything is
True.
trending now.
True.
New stars, you know everything about them
Yeah.
because of social media. They're huge on social
Mm-hmm.
media,
Well,
That's
that's
kind of what we have to do to build things up, or people feel that way, at least anyways. And they come from an era where you didn't have to do that. And
Yeah.
they've reached a level where they don't have to if they don't
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
And they obviously don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, hot take agreeing with somebody talking about safe COVID protocols, Joe. What a wild man you are.
Jesus Christ.
Wacky opinion.
Hey, there's that other side, man.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people are gonna say the same thing. Like, good on Tom Cruise. Like, more people need to be yelled at. Maybe they do. You know, I mean, I have a feeling those guys are not gonna make that mistake. Nobody on that set is gonna make that mistake again.
Yeah.
The leaking of that tape,
very interesting.
I think, is probably from his team.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that's exactly. So like,
especially the way, because I'll say this, like,
it's interesting.
He really goes at these guys and does a good job of it. But there's definitely some, I mean, because there's no video, but we have to imagine. We don't have to imagine. What I get the sense of is that there's a lot of people seeing this. And obviously now there are a lot of people hearing this. And I almost feel like there's some elements of performance in his speech when it starts to go a little longer. Like, he's like, okay, I've kind of got them hooked, which I think just falls into, like, the guy's an actor. Like, it's kind of unavoidable.
That's exactly what I was, like, going for, too, is, like, it's really, like, it's really hard not to like him. And, like, you know, he constantly makes me forget, like, about his whole, like, Scientology background and stuff. And then I think about it, and I'm like, there has to be something more. And, you know, he is a great actor, and he does have that charisma. And then that, I hear this, and I agree with him, obviously. But at the same time, it's like, the way it got released, and the way it sounds at the same time, it's like, I don't think it's... I'm not denying that it happened. I mean, it could... I'm not denying that the situation didn't arise where he, like, yelled at those people.
It wasn't a setup. Yeah, I don't think it was a setup.
But I think, I do agree that there's a, like, you know, he's not stupid, and he is obviously trying to portray himself in the best light possible. And not only that, he's a very charismatic guy, and I think, you know, he tries his best, because he is involved with Scientology, to have people... What?
Okay, keep going.
To have people, like, kind of forget about that.
Sure.
In a way. Maybe that's not... I'm not saying that's his whole like, motivation there, but, like...
Yeah.
I
don't think what we're saying is that he doesn't believe what he did, because I definitely think, again, like I said, Tom Cruise, he's the guy on those sets. Like, it's all him. Yep. Like, I don't know if everybody knows that he picks every person on that crew. Like, he selects. You know, not like as far as the major roles there.
Yeah.
And like, who writes the movie? Like, those are his fucking movies. So I think he definitely believes in what he was saying. I do like it did feel like maybe at a point he kind of realized there seems to be kind of a switch during that speech where it was like, this is like, I have to keep going. Like, people are listening to this. Like, I have to not just yell at these guys, but like make a whole point here.
Yeah. And I agree. So yeah, I would not be surprised if, like, someone from his team leaked it, or because, like, I don't see any reason for. Yeah, I don't know. I think
to go public. Aside from that.
Yeah, like that's it. It just seems like publicity, and like that's fine. I think
cool, dude.
I think it was cool, and it was an amusing thing to listen to, and it was like, you know what, you made a good point. It's weirdly like, even though I'm not like there, and I'm not, this just goes for the point that how charismatic this guy is. Like, I wasn't there, and I wasn't the one being yelled at, and obviously I agree with him, and like you said, it's not a hot take to agree with him. Like, that's not so, but like I still felt like weirdly like not inspired, but I got this like weird like feeling that you get after listening to like a good speech in a movie. Like that's what like it's like it was like I don't know how to explain it, but like
it's our time down here. They're up there. Down here, it's our time.
So like oh my God. So like it's just interesting like you made that point, like it's very similar. So yeah, anyhow, I yeah, I think that's all there is to say about that, but very very wild stuff. So other than that, let's before we go into the big thing, I do just want to say really quick the big things that are all connected to each other. Let's do this new Bob Odenkirk movie that's coming out, which I'm like oh, I'm pumped. So this new film is called Nobody. And is it Mr. Nobody or is it just Nobody? I think it's just called Nobody.
Nobody.
It's just called Nobody. Mr. Nobody. That's Mr. Nobody to you. So it's just called. That's going in the routine. So it's just called.
What? How?
I don't know. So it's just called Nobody, and he Bob Odenkirk. He is playing this character who's fed up. He's just this this normal guy, and he has this rage inside of him, and he's getting fed up with the monotony of.
Well, here's what happens, if I may.
Yeah.
His house gets broken into by a couple of thugs. And he has the opportunity to take him down, and he doesn't. It makes it look like he kind of chickens out at the last second. So then he loses the respect of his entire family and everyone around him. And then it turns out that he has a past where he was, like a hitman?
Yeah, or something.
Where he was like, it's one of those movies where...
He just has this rage inside of him.
You have a guy where he's like, when there's a mess,
yeah!
I'm the one you call.
Dude.
And so he has a past as like that sort of thing. And so now he goes to like just beat the shit out of people to regain his dignity.
Dude, I gotta tell you, when I saw this trailer the first time, I saw it on Bob Odenkirk posted it on his Twitter, right? And I gotta tell you the what he typed, because it's incredible. It is as iconic as it can be. And he said, I gotta find it now. He said, it's right. Come on. I made an action movie for personal reasons. First one being vengeance. It's the funniest, dude. Yeah. Right when I saw that, I was like, oh, this guy knows what this movie is. Like they're not hiding what this movie is. They're not at all trying to hide what this movie was.
He's got no delusions about how people see him and how people are going to see him initially in this trailer.
No, but even that, like I don't know if you've seen the promotional material in like the trailer, or not the trailer. You saw the trailer, the poster, but they're pretty obviously like parodying John Wick. Like like very like this movie.
It even says like it's John Wick inspired.
It's produced by the guy, one of the people who did John Wick. So like they're very much making a parody movie on like this kind of, but it's interesting because it seems like so self-aware. Like it's a parody movie in the sense where they're not like gonna do that thing where some parody movies are like, did you catch that? Like where they like constantly like bring attention to like what they're parodying. They're just this whole movie is just gonna be like the parody,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna constantly call back to it in the film. Just if you know, you know, and like, I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, it seems like that's what it's gonna be. Like, it's gonna be very obvious, like that it's just like kind of poking fun at the genre a little bit, and like it's just a little exaggerated, and it's silly, and I don't think it's gonna be like a like too much of a satire or a ridiculous. Like, I just think.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. That's why I think this movie has the potential to work, is because it's taking itself seriously as an action movie.
Yeah.
While still, of course, doing what you have just described.
Exactly. It's like a weird mix, which I think is cool.
Which is the only way to do it.
Oh,
like, if you're gonna parody something, you have, like, we've been talking, like, you and I have been talking about Tropic Thunder, like, off mic a bit, and I think we brought it up last episode. That movie's obviously very silly, but one of the reasons it works is because the action scenes are taken very seriously. And they're shot well, and all the pyrotechnics and stuff are done really well.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really so there's really not much more to say than that. I do gotta say, I think they even threw in like a little Joker reference in there. I think you caught it. I think it was easy to catch. But like the bus scene when they walk onto the bus, I got such like Subway Joker vibe scenes there. Like I was like, oh, this is like literally like gonna parody like these kind of like this is gonna this is gonna be great. Like because Bob Odenkirk is just gonna beat the shit out of people, and he is an older man who I don't think is fit, and it's gonna be just like not he's not Keanu Reeves. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's why it's funny, and he knows that. He's not trying to like say that that's not funny, and I don't know. I think it's great, and it's just so weird, and he knows this. It's so weird to see him in this role because he's mainly famous for Mr. Show, which was his sketch comedy show back in the day, which a lot of people love. And, other things other than that, but mainly the things I know him from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, which Better Call Saul is starting to get even more, like, it's riding the line on getting as big as Breaking Bad, which is insane. Because I don't think anyone would have ever predicted that. But it is on course to get to that level, and it's getting to that level quickly. It's wild. I'm not caught up on that show, but anyway, I've seen 3 seasons of it. Very good. But he just plays a very different character on that show. He is a skeevy, like, sly guy who can't pick a fight for his life, and it's very different. So, and what I think is kind of funny is Mike from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is in this movie. I just think it's weird that they work together a lot. Like, they're just always in, like, similar...
Maybe they're just pals.
That's what I think it is. It's just they kind of are always in each other's stuff, which is cool. But yeah, so that's that, I guess. It's coming out... I was very surprised, though, to see it is slated to be only in theaters. January, I think, like, 13th or 15th, or... It's going to be a January movie, and it says in theaters, which sucks, because that means I'm not going to be able to see it when it comes out, probably. But I'm curious to see... It seems like a movie that would be... Like, this is one of those movies that we were talking about last week that I don't have to see in the theater. I'm, like, completely fine watching this on a different device. So, like...
Yeah.
I hope it goes to streaming, and if it doesn't, I'll just wait till it goes out on digital. Tenet is finally going out on digital, very soon. So we'll actually be able to see that and probably review it, so that'll be great. Anyhow, that's it for that news. And now we just have an insane amount of news to get through before we talk about the 2 movies. Yeah.
So, in case you are unaware, or for some reason don't care, our very gracious overlords, the Disney company, have decided to shit on us with a bunch of great stuff
Yeah.
that we're just gonna eat up like nobody's business, like pigs at a trough. And but which is true, but it's also like it's very exciting. So
Yeah.
they've brainwashed us completely successfully, and
Some of
lost
it's not
slaves.
very exciting, but
I think it is.
well,
What do you mean?
like the remakes. I don't really care about the remakes.
Oh yeah, well that's whatever, but
Yeah.
but I mean it's just amazing. So we're gonna get into the specifics, but they put out a ton of trailers for the Disney movies. I didn't even see this shit. Hold on, I just got to make sure this. Oh, that's unreal.
What?
The Bad Batch. I didn't even see the Bad Batch.
You didn't see the Bad Batch?
No, that's crazy. Okay,
that's
awesome.
animated. Just
yeah.
Okay.
But so a ton. So they dropped a bunch of trailers for the Disney Plus Marvel series. They released a bunch of stuff about the Star Wars series, and they said that in the coming years they're going to put out 10 Star Wars series and 10 Marvel series on Disney Plus, which is so much content. We're not going to be able to do anything else. That's complete insanity.
It's going to be nuts.
They also said, of course, they're going to do a live action Pinocchio with Tom Hanks and a live action Peter Pan. And the Buzz Lightyear thing with Chris Evans, I think that's going to be animated.
Yeah, it is. So that is based on the character, not the character that the toy is based off of, not the toy.
Yeah. Which is similar to, I don't know if you know.
The show.
But the show and the movie with that, they did that already.
Yep. They released the Little Mermaid cast. So, which I will say, out of all the remakes, as much as I hated the Lion King remake, that movie has just gone downhill every time I think about it. I'm just like, I can't stand it. My review definitely would change for that movie if we did a re-review of it, probably.
Jungle Book was so good, though. I love the Jungle Book.
The Jungle Book was great. Was great. It went downhill after Beauty and the Beast, because I actually liked Beauty and the Beast.
I didn't see that whole thing.
I didn't dislike that one. But anyhow, Little Mermaid, the cast, so they casted Ariel, Halle Bailey, I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Which we've known that for quite some time.
Yes, you're right. Daveed Diggs as Sebastian, which is awesome.
We've known that for a while, I think.
Did we?
And Trombley as Flounder.
Yes.
That came out a while
Javier
ago.
Bardem is going to be King Triton, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I think I think that one's new.
Melissa
McCarthy.
The other
new ones. Melissa McCarthy is going to be Ursula, and Awkwafina is going to be Scuttle. Which I'm down for that, honestly.
I should have been Scuttle.
Yeah, you probably should have been Scuttle.
Do you remember? Oh, were you? I don't know if you graduated. Never mind. I don't know. I don't even know if you knew that I played that character in the.
Oh, did you really?
In the senior year musical.
Yeah, the Little Mermaid.
I was Scuttle for the high school. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect casting.
It was. Oh man, I have the video still, and it's rough. Anyhow, okay.
Sound good to me.
So that's the smaller stuff. I guess we should. I don't even know where to start. Like, where do you want to start? Because we got to talk about some of the bigger stuff, a little bit.
Let's go into Star Wars first.
Okay, Star Wars first. So, I mean, the biggest thing that I saw that I thought was nuts, and I'm so excited. Hayden Christensen is back in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series as Darth Vader. That's fucking nuts. They are basically and that also means that there's a good chance he will be in other things. I'm sure this doesn't just mean he'll be in Obi-Wan. I am sure he's gonna be in I'm sure he's gonna make appearances in other things. Like the Ahsoka show, I am sure he's gonna be in that.
Dude, I've not watched Star Wars Rebels, but one of the clips that I've seen from that show is when those two characters run into each other.
Yeah.
Insanity.
I'm gonna actually. I've seen the clips too. I'm gonna have to. I'm actually I'm still making my way through the Clone Wars again because I wanted to rewatch it. So I'm making my way through that series in this cool order. It's like this different order because like some of it's out of place, so you can watch it in chronological order. Anyhow, I'm watching it in chronological order, and the only season I still haven't seen is the final season that just came out because I'm not caught up yet. Even though I kind of got spoiled on it, but after I finish Clone Wars, I am expecting to watch Rebels because as much as like I don't know. I still have this weird like predisposition towards that show, even though I heard it's good. But like I know once I start watching it, I'm gonna like it. So I just have to get in it. Cause like, yeah. Cause I mean, we can't really talk about this because the Ahsoka show we kind of already know where that's gonna go because of how they had that one Mandalorian episode go. That's all I'll say. Because of the names that they dropped in that episode, we kind of know where that show's gonna go.
Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything because it's a huge spoiler. But it's yes, it's very cool, very excited. Yeah, dude, because it's so weird that the prequels are like. It's so weird that like the prequels, like the Clone Wars, like low key, like brought the prequels like not back to life. I won't put that much on the show's shoulders, but they
definitely put them up.
Oh, put them up a good amount, which is nuts. Because now people like actually don't hate the prequels. Like people still don't love them, but like I don't think they hate them anymore. And I also think that's partly because of the new trilogy. But so and I don't know. I always loved, obviously, Ewan McGregor's performance as Obi-Wan, and I think a lot of people did. And
unbelievable.
And now we're gonna get Hayden Christensen back, which I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on him.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna do really good, and I would like to say most of the stuff was the writing and not the acting, because I will say some of his moments in those movies, specifically like the third one, he's acting, he's like bringing it, like he's trying, like I don't know, I think he's doing the best. He's in some of those scenes, he's trying the best he can with a lot of those moments.
I think it's tough because when Anakin starts to take that turn into Darth Vader, and even before that, well, I mean, there's always hints of it, but like if we're talking about the Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones, excuse me.
Yeah.
You can see him, like, the whole point of that character is that he's struggling with his emotions, and I think that it does a good job of showing that he's kind of confused, like as a Jedi, you know what I mean? Because he feels so much that character, and he feels like he has to put it all down to be a successful Jedi, and that's then what drives him to the dark side even more.
Yeah. When
he starts to really become Darth Vader in the third one, it's like, how do you play that character before he, is in the Darth Vader suit and everything before? Because the character of Darth Vader, I mean, a lot of him is obviously robotic, and with the loss of Padme, like, he shuts down, and in the sequels, or excuse me, in the original trilogy, he's not all that charismatic.
Yeah.
Because he can't be, because he's basically a robot and he's Darth Vader, whatever.
Yeah.
So how do you play that when you're still human? You know what I mean? How do you
Yeah.
play a lack of humanity? And like, and not the kind of humanity where it's like an android, like fucking Data in Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
which is great example of somebody like playing a robot well. But like,
Yeah.
how do you play somebody with like just completely shut down, you know, but still has to walk
Yeah.
around and interact with people? It's tough.
It's really tough. And I will say the the um the way that the Clone Wars like shows the character as opposed to the prequels, like you can tell like I think they realized like how they had to change how they had to
Yeah.
do it instead.
Yeah.
And cuz the difference is crazy. Like and like you like he is in the Clone Wars he is charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
He's more like Poe from the I see a lot of Poe in
Right.
like
Which
parallels.
feels like the character of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like they definitely nailed it more in the show than they did
Yeah.
in the movies. And you know, a couple things about that. Obviously, they had to speed things up in the movies, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that character in the Clone Wars, like that's what Anakin Skywalker feels like.
And now that there's a much more unified understanding of what people like about the character and what they want to see in the character, that makes me excited for this because I think this is going to be the most. I don't know how big Darth Vader is going to be in the show, but this is, I think, going to be the most human portrayal of Darth Vader that we're like. I'm not saying it's going to be like Kylo Ren amount of like emotion, but it's going to be
Sure.
like. It's going to be like. We're going to know that it's Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
I
hope
don't.
they do some stuff from the comics because some of the first Darth Vader comics that came out after Disney purchased Star Wars are good. Like, really good.
Yeah, I also hope that we see him without the mask. I think that'd be really cool, cause I don't know. I think that'd be really cool. Maybe not without it fully or something, but like I want like
he has to have the bottom part.
No, I know. I want to just see like a Rebels moment. I want to see that in real like in live action.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
They have to.
I want to see Hayden Christensen's face like so bad like as Darth Vader. They'll be sick. Oh my god, dude. And like the possibilities are so crazy. We're going to get since the only and last time we've seen a live action Darth Vader Obi-Wan fight is in A New Hope, and obviously it was, you know, all things considered, not great because of what the limitations were, the choreography wise. But this is gonna be nuts. We're gonna be able to see an Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight after Revenge of the Sith, modern day, and it's official and canon. This is gonna be nuts, dude. It's gonna be the craziest fucking thing. Like, that's insane.
I just want to see Darth Vader go back to Tatooine.
Ooh.
Because that's crazy. And that's also, there's so much stuff in the lore about not just Anakin, but Darth Vader and the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah. I think if...
And that's one of the most... That's such an interesting thing to me.
I think so if...
Really cool.
It will be cool. I think that if this does well enough and people like him as Darth Vader enough, there is the possibility... I don't know if they'll do this, but there is the possibility of a subline or an alternate timeline that they dive into, which is Darth Vader gets a Padawan. The Force, you know, the Force Unleashed
the
series,
video games.
The video games and the comics series that came out afterwards that people really like. That would be insane. That would be nuts if they went to that level, because that would be really cool to have a protagonist who is Sith. Like that would be sick. And like they have to like, and he's Sith, but like you know, I don't know if you play the games, but he's a very, the whole point is he is a very divided character. He's a very, just much like how Anakin was. He is very much like Anakin, but instead of the dark side pulling him, it's more the light side. It's very interesting. It's very cool though. It has to do with like brainwashing and cloning. It's very interesting. I think it'd be cool. But anyhow, we'll see if they end up going that route. They are kind of giving hints in The Mandalorian about something like that, which would be really cool, but we'll see. Anyhow, we've talked about that a lot. There's more to even talk about. So
the Ahsoka show is officially happening.
Yeah.
Released a title graphic for that, which is cool. Mm-hmm. They released a whole trailer basically for, calling it a sizzle reel, for Andor, the show that's that character from it focuses on that character from Rogue One.
Yeah.
So I should have gotten his name down.
So that's going to be very interesting. I am getting a little worried about... I'm excited for Obi-Wan. I'm excited for Ahsoka. Those are the shows. I gotta say, with almost...
Cassian Andor, sorry, I just want to say it. Played by Diego Luna, which is good.
I do have to say, with the rest of the shows that they announced, not the rest of them, the Bad Batch, I'm actually excited for, because that's like the same team...
That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, that's the same team that did... Is it the same team that did Clone Wars, or is it the same team that did Rebels? It's one of those teams. I think it's Clone Wars, because the animation style...
So. I hope so.
The animation style looks similar. Well, because the Bad Batch was in Clone Wars, and they were...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, and they're great. I think people are very excited for that, obviously.
Oh, will you say what the Bad Batch is, just in case people don't know?
If I'm being honest, I have to, I don't remember, the specifics. I just know, they're a group of clones.
Yeah, they're a group of rogue clones, basically.
Yeah. Yes. I can't, that's honestly, the most I know, because I haven't even gotten to that part. Actually, maybe I did get to that part in the show. I don't know. But anyhow, they're an iconic, group of clones that a lot of people like. And they're rogue, obviously, and, they have I think they have a comic series about them too. So a lot of people I think are excited about that, and I am too. I'm excited about that show too. Everything else basically though, I'm a little nervous about, because I can't, it is very hard for me to get excited about. I'm just worried they're going to be producing all this content and they're not going to be putting, I don't know. I'm just, this is a lot of fucking content. I mean, we haven't even named, there's literally just a list right here. We haven't even gone through, basically any of them still. We have, for Star Wars, we have, the rest of the Star Wars things. I just gotta find, there was a list that I had of all the fucking Star Wars things that were coming out. Come on, where's the graphic that they came out with? It was right... Now I'm getting all the Marvel shit. I want to get the Star Wars shit. Okay, the Bad Batch. Then there's the Lando show that's coming out.
Right.
Then there's Rogue Squadron, which is going to be a Patty Jenkins directed film. Then there's Andor, like you said. And then there's Rangers of the New Republic, which is another new series, which is going to star Rosario Dawson. Oh, no, that's Ahsoka. The Rangers of the New Republic is just a new... is just another new show. I am worried. This is a lot. And I am worried they are going to start spreading themselves thin here. And I don't want it to be quantity over quality. I really don't. Because the reason why The Mandalorian is so great is because you can tell all the work they're putting into it. And I want that same amount of work in all of these shows.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They're going to get
Because
different
Solo I didn't
teams
love.
to be working on each of these shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of people that are super passionate about Star Wars and that are going to want to
Mm-hmm.
do it the right way.
I'm worried about more Solos. That's all I'll say. Solo was a film, was the one spin-off that I did not care a lot for. It just seems a little shallow compared to the other, like Rogue One. I like Rogue One a lot. That is one. That's like one of the best. I think that is the best spin-off Star Wars movie that they did. But Solo, there wasn't enough there, and I am worried that that's going to happen with some of these other shows. So that's a little worrying, but we'll see.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, it's bound to happen with something.
You're
throwing so much stuff out there.
Exactly. That's what
it's inevitable that you're going to get some misses, but
yeah, that's what sucks. So I'm hoping it's
not.
That
it's not going to be for a lack of trying. And also Solo, like the directors jumped ship on that originally.
That's true.
Like that thing had its own stuff going on.
That's true. But it doesn't make me less excited for the big names, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, those shows, Bad Batch, and those are the three main that I'm excited for. All the other ones, like, take them or leave them for me. But I'm going to watch them, but, like, I'm just not hyped for those. Because I'm not going to let myself get hyped for those until I, like, see shit about them. Like, more film, more recording or more scenes, whatever. I think that's Star Wars. Should we get into...
Yeah, I think we ought to move on. Yeah. I'm sure there's more we could say, but
there's
even more stuff when it comes to the Marvel news with Disney Plus and beyond. There's a lot of Disney Plus stuff, but I also want to say that they're officially doing a Fantastic Four movie at Marvel, and it's going to be directed by John Watts.
That's sweet.
And it's going to just explode all of our brains and be absolutely fucking insane.
What did John Watts do?
John Watts, he directed Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh.
And
very good movie.
Far From Home.
Oh, those are both really good movies.
Those.
I liked both of those a lot.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh no, just him. Just Johnny Watts.
Cool. Wonder if John Watts is going to be the new like lead director that they have on like stuff, like how the Russo brothers were. No, you're going to
move it to Johnny Watts.
Maybe they won't do that.
I don't know because I think that sensibility that he brought to Spider-Man is very specific to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In the MCU, and which is why I think he's a great choice for Fantastic Four because those are two group of character that are. Very closely intertwined. Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man #1. Spider-Man tries to join the Fantastic Four. That's the whole point of that first issue.
Which is so interesting because he's an Avenger technically. So now.
Well, this is
obviously.
Oh, but now if he does that.
Yeah. So, but I don't think that's the route they're going to go. I mean, maybe. I mean, what's probably going to happen is the Fantastic Four is just going to join the Avengers, but eventually. Or, help the Avengers. Maybe not join the Avengers, but help the Avengers.
But definitely, yeah. I think they got to be their own deal.
Yeah,
but there's obviously, across the comics, a lot of interaction with all these guys.
Oh, yeah.
But I who knows how they're going to fold them into the MCU.
It's going to be crazy.
Could be all this fucking quantum shit, which I hope it's not. Not with the Fantastic Four. You know what I mean? I know it's, hard to explain how such a massive... other super team is gonna come into this MCU, but don't do it through fucking quantum stuff.
It's gonna be tough.
I just don't want that. I know, but there's a way to do it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it just has with the Fantastic Four. It's got to be organic.
Yeah.
Anything else? Do whatever you want.
This is the only thing that sucks. That's working against the Fantastic Four. In this timeline, is. Obviously, there's so much stuff that has already happened in this universe. There's what I originally think would have been best, but they can't do it now because it's impossible. It's not impossible, but like you said, I don't want them to do this. They could do it. What I would have liked to see naturally is a Captain America scenario where it was like a flashback, or a Captain Marvel scenario where it was a flashback,
right,
and it happened in the past. But this is the thing. They can't do that because there is no other way that they can ever explain why the Fantastic Four didn't get involved in any of the shit that's happened. They can't.
Boom.
They
Here
just can't do that.
Can't be a flashback like that.
No. I would love if it was like that, though.
What they can do, that would be very, very interesting. What they can do. Because you have to have these guys interact with everybody else at this point. You just have to.
Yep.
So, what you could do is, like, they went up into space years ago.
Oh.
And they've been trapped, and they've been absorbing all of that cosmic radiation that gave them their superpowers. They
like an interstellar thing.
Yeah.
That could happen. Ooh.
So they've been up there. It doesn't even have to be a long time. It can be like
that'd be cool.
Like just like fucking.
Not like Captain America
long. Iron Man.
Not Captain America long.
No, but it could be like
12 years since Iron Man,
or whatever.
Yeah, like when Iron Man started, like before Iron Man became Iron Man. What if it took place during the same time Iron Man 1 took place?
Like if you see like they're getting ready to go into the ship, and then like on TV is like the Tony Stark news conference, right?
That'd be insane. They could do it. They could do it. That is a very good possibility. Actually, that's probably how I want them to do it.
Because you wouldn't have to like catch up with like what they've been up to.
Yeah.
And they haven't been up to anything.
Yeah, and then the only thing is, then you're gonna get that whole out of time or fish out of water scenario that like they've done so many times now.
Because it's a much shorter amount of time.
You're right. It's only like 10 years.
It doesn't have to be that big of a deal. Like they already had iPhones in 2008, so that's the biggest thing, honestly.
Yeah.
It's the idea of a smartphone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so it's just be like something like fuck, I don't even remember like what happened in 2000. But like all you have to do is like make 2 jokes about it.
Yeah.
Like have Johnny Storm like listen to like some band that was really popular, then be like, oh, they're not in anymore. Yeah. And that's it. It's done. It's taken care of.
You're right.
Everybody's caught up.
I agree. That'll be really interesting. I do hope that's how they do it. I am also interested, if they don't do it like that, then it's gonna be like a modern thing that happens to them. Like it happens just in the timeline that they're in now. Then it'll still work. It's still gonna work even if they do it like that. If they go up into space and there isn't like say they do the same exact thing that you're talking about. Endgame just happened. They go up into space and what happens in space, and then they come back. It's still the same thing. It's just they're not from the past.
Right, there's 0 time difference.
Which would still work fine. I just, for some reason, kind of want it to be from the past. But it could also just happen now, and that's okay. I just think it's kind of hard to pull off a more modern like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, there's a lot riding on it because people didn't love the first Fantastic Four, and then people hated the Fan Four stick.
Just with very justifiable for hating that movie.
No. I actually never watched it because I heard how bad it was.
You never seen Silver Surfer?
No. I've seen Silver Surfer.
Oh, the Miles Teller deal.
Yeah, I heard that one
me
was
neither, dude.
the worst.
I didn't watch it.
I don't want to watch
That's another production that had so many problems on it, though. Like that was like.
So then, but the first Fantastic Four movie and the Silver Surfer one, like, they're bad, obviously, but the first one in particular, I could watch that movie and like I think it is charm.
Yeah, like you kind of get it. I
love seeing Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, man, and I am gonna miss him not being Johnny Storm. Like, whoever they fill as Johnny Storm, there's a lot of good options, but like,
Yeah.
man, it'd be so cool if it was Chris Evans. Obviously, it can't, but it'd be so cool if it was Chris Evans.
That'd be so crazy.
I
That'd be
loved
hilarious.
Chris Evans as Flaming Torch. I thought he was a great Flaming Torch. So,
Human Torch, Joe.
Human Torch. Yep.
You just lost all credibility with our
Oh,
listeners.
my God.
Shut it down.
But
End of the podcast, it's over.
anyhow, God, it's gonna be so cool. And honestly, however this Fantastic Four deal goes, it's gonna influence how the X-Men movies go in the future.
Yep.
It's exactly what it's gonna be. So if it does really well, we'll probably see an X-Men movie soonish after. Announced soonish after. There's no way, I don't think there's any way they're gonna announce an X-Men movie before this movie comes out, though.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They're gonna have to see how this goes.
Just while we're sticking on movie news for Marvel, Quantumania, we got a title for the Ant-Man and the Wasp. Excuse me. Now the third one in that series. Captain Marvel 2 is going to be called Captain Marvel 2. And Christian Bale is joining the cast of Thor: Love and Thunder as a villain named Gore the God Butcher, which is a pretty sick name.
Are you familiar? I'm not.
I'm not familiar with that character.
I'm not either. I was just curious if...
But he'll be cool.
It sounds cool. It's very interesting Christian Bale being in a superhero movie. I'm very surprised, honestly, that he actually is doing a superhero movie. I mean, I'm sure they're paying him a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
but
I think, you gotta, like, enough time has passed, and
I just feel like he's the kind of guy who hates superhero movies. Like, I feel like
after doing that. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, like, I also, like, you can't not enjoy Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale, I mean, we just talked about him, like, screaming at a guy, but he has a sense of humor.
Yeah. No, yeah, obviously.
And I think one that would definitely, he's a European fella. I think one that definitely, like, would get the New Zealand sensibilities that are rampant throughout Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. I guess I was more saying along the lines of, how, like, that Martin Scorsese quote, like, I thought he was among that kind of group of people.
Right.
So...
Yeah, I would not guess that he would go into that. But,
so we'll see. But he's
so
on
that's
it.
going on. So now Disney Plus, like we said, a ton of news about the Marvel series. Again, they said they're going to have 10 Marvel series in the coming years. We got a couple trailers. We got quite a few trailers. We got a fucking Loki trailer, which is insane.
That was the coolest.
We got a WandaVision trailer, another one.
Yep.
We got a Winter Soldier and the Falcon one, and we got a big What If trailer.
I did not see the Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer. I saw the What If trailer. I did not see.
It's going down. It's out.
Is it like a big trailer? Like, is it a trailer or is it a teaser?
It's
because I'll look it at
full-length trailer. It's like a minute. It's like a minute and 40 seconds.
Jesus. What? Let me just. I won't even.
The Loki one looks like insane. Like, that's gonna be.
That's my favorite one that I saw.
Deal. Like, that's just gonna be like Loki doing Loki, and it's like that one looks like it's gonna be completely disconnected from everything else. Whether that's true or not, I mean, they love bringing stuff together, so who the fuck knows? But yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't even recognize Owen Wilson. I didn't even recognize.
What?
I recognized him. Okay, let me be clear. When I saw Owen Wilson's character in the Loki trailer, I was like, who is that guy? Like, he is an actor that I know. Who is he? I didn't know. I knew I recognized him. I didn't know who the hell he was. The makeup on him is crazy. Like, I don't know. It took me a while to realize it was Owen Wilson. I was like, that's fucking Owen Wilson. I was like, dude, like, I've never seen him in a role like this. I was like, why does his voice sound so familiar? It's fucking Owen Wilson. It's crazy. I've never thought that I'd see Owen Wilson in a film like this, and he's like a more serious character. Like,
well, he did a movie years ago where he was like a reporter and stuff in Afghanistan, and that was actually supposed to be quite good.
Oh.
And Owen Wilson, Yeah, like trust me, that guy's got it.
Oh, I'm
He's
sure
got
he
what
does.
he's got it going on.
But I love that he's in this movie. Like I fucking love that. I don't want to say I predicted it or anything. It was an easy prediction. So I'm
Uh-huh.
not saying I'm like I can predict like crazy things. But I did call it on the show. I don't know what episode it was, but I did say on either the TV show or the podcast that when Loki in Endgame takes the Tesseract and teleports out of there, that was going to be the Loki show. And it was, and it is,
Yep.
and that's sick. So it's exactly what like a bunch of people thought, where we're following that timeline of events. So that's gonna be crazy. I love that because they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. Like, I'm I'm very excited to see that. I think it's gonna be awesome, and I love Tom Hiddleston. So like, him as that character like is great. I'm so glad that they did go this route, and they're not trying to bring him back somehow from
Yeah.
what happened in Endgame. Like, I'm glad this is the route they're going with his character because this is the only way I would want his character to come back. So this is great, and we'll see what happens with it. The trailer was pretty cool. Trailer was pretty sick. It
Yeah,
I'm
there's gonna
very
be a
curious
lot.
where they're gonna go with it. It seems very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah,
so Falcon Winter Soldier.
that one looks cool. I just looked at it.
Yeah, pretty pretty basic stuff.
Yeah.
WandaVision, just have that fucking show come out already. There's gonna be so many questions coming out of that show, I think.
Yep.
Um,
That trailer
I
was
think it
good.
might be, huh?
That new trailer
yes.
was really good.
I think that it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be hard to follow
No.
because but I think there's gonna be a lot of complicated elements in there. But I think they're also gonna just kind of lay those out in front of you.
It gives me Twilight Zone vibes, and it gives me Twilight Zone vibes, and what's the other? God, I said it right before we started recording. There's another thing that's giving me like crazy vibes on, but like
Okay.
it's like a mix match of like Twilight Zone and this other thing that I can't think of right now, in my mind, for me.
Yeah.
I it seems sick. It's gonna be like
When we get a little, I mean, go watch the trailer. But there's a
Yeah.
little voiceover at one point.
oh
That's like really that part.
that part's cool, but also
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think there's this part in the trailer. I think the trailer might have given away too much. I will say I like this trailer a lot. It's better than the other ones. It's actually gotten me a lot more interested in watching the show. But I will say, the one part of the trailer that I could have gone without is her fucking with the Infinity Stone, because that kind of it doesn't mean that it's confirmed, but it kind of soft confirms the theory that some people had, where this has to do with
Right.
her fucking with the stone in Infinity
Yeah,
War.
I think there's no way that that's not the case.
Well, we didn't. I'm just saying we didn't know for sure, and I think that it would have been cooler going into it still not knowing for sure. But now that we like see that
I mean,
shot,
just imagine being in that moment. Don't be like, "Oh, I knew it," and then there you go. You know. So I feel like it's like if everybody already knows that this is what's going on.
yeah, it's gonna be
Toss it
cool
in
though.
there.
That's fair. It's gonna be sick though. Oh, it's gonna be wild. Yeah, I don't know. Can we? So really quick, Vision didn't come back in Endgame, right? Like he did not, because he's dead. Like he got. So Wanda did come back though. She did come back at the end of Endgame. Yes. So what I think is going to happen, and I think this is where it's going, is this is going to, take place during when everyone's gone, and they're going to be in this weird whatever they're in. And then it's going to end because in my mind it has to be a one-off show. Like I don't see how this is gonna have multiple seasons, but maybe we'll see. But I think it's gonna end with Wanda getting out and coming back in Endgame. But it's gonna be sad because Vision's gonna be dead. So I think that's where it's going, though. I think that's the only way because fucking Vision's dead. Like he's dead.
Okay.
Like,
so, but this could all happen after Endgame, and maybe she.
Oh, you think she's like fucking with the stone after Endgame? I took it as she's fucking with the stone during, like, and that's interesting. We'll see how it goes, I guess. I was taking it the other way. So
because the voiceover that we hear is somebody talking to her and being like who's doing this to you?
Well, I thought that.
If that happens when everybody was blipped or whatever the fuck they called it, then it doesn't make any sense because nobody knows where anybody was because they were nowhere, I guess, right?
Well, it could have been an alternate.
Unless they were here.
It could have been an alternate, like, it could have just been a completely alternate timeline where all the people who disappeared for this side disappeared for the other side. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking they're going to get into. That's my whole theory of where they disappeared off to. They disappeared to just another place where everyone else wasn't. Which is very interesting. I don't know, though.
But also, they do say that Vision is dead in the trailer. Like, they say that multiple times. Well, in multiple trailers.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know. Oh, it's gonna be cool to see that character, that character back, because I think everyone loves that character and loves like his portrayal in this series, in this Marvel series. But I'm already know I'm gonna be sad as fuck, like, if they have to say bye to him again, because it was already sad the first time. Like, that shit was heart-wrenching, man. Infinity War was a heart-wrenching movie. That movie was nuts. Jesus Christ. So anyway, Infinity War and Endgame are sad fucking movies. Endgame less so, but still. Anyhow, great movies. Is that it? Is there...
No, so there's other shows that they announced that we did not get like trailers for. Oh, they also put out Miss Marvel clip.
Oh, yep. The Miss
Marvel. So, Secret Invasion is going to be a Disney Plus show with Sam Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn. Armor Wars is going to be a War Machine show with Don Cheadle, and you have Ironheart, which introduces a whole new character into the MCU.
Oh, the Groot show.
Oh, it's going to be like a series of shorts that feature Baby Groot.
Yeah.
Oh, also Tim Roth is coming back as fucking Abomination for She-Hulk. Did you see that?
Wait. Oh, shit. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
It's so really weird that they're making that movie, like... It's so weird that movie's still canon. Like, it's so strange to me that movie's canon. I get it, like, but it's just, like, so weird. It's so different from all the other Marvel movies. Because obviously, and especially the whole Ed Norton thing. But that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very cool.
I hope that's good, because...
Oh, which reminds me, so this is the very last thing. So that's all the Disney Plus stuff, which...
Yeah. Oh, one thing with Disney Plus... Soul's coming out. Soul is gonna that new Soul movie. It's gonna start streaming on Disney Plus. Christmas. I don't know if it's a Mulan deal where they're gonna charge you.
I don't know. It's free.
So there you go. All right. Our question from last week when we were like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna do what HBO's doing, but if they're gonna do it with how they did with Mulan. Right now, they're not. So maybe they're gonna.
This one, anyways. Who knows? Maybe it's a flop.
Ooh, maybe.
And they know it.
I don't know. Pixar doesn't make many flops, so
yeah,
we'll see.
So, I'm so glad I remembered this before we went off movie news. But I think that I'm glad that this is the very last thing. we've gotten a lot of news from Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
And this is the most important one.
Yep.
And it's that Willem Dafoe is going to be back as Norman Osborn.
So
Green Goblin.
The multiverse thing is definitely confirmed now.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's the nail in the coffin for people like me who weren't very sure if that was going to be the case. That's the case. There is no fucking way that it's not a multiverse thing now. So, and I think that's how he's going to try and fix the whole scenario he's in and that he got put in at the end of Far From Home. And I also think, God, I want Jake Gyllenhaal to be back. Even if he's not back, even if he's just back in an alternate timeline, he is one of, along with Michael Keaton, one of the best villains that they've introduced in the Marvel Universe, other than Thanos, obviously. Let's talk about not big-time villains, like small-time, not even, smaller villains.
Sure. Like one-off movie villains.
Vulture and Mysterio, two of the best, in my opinion, in the entire Marvel Universe.
Because as we all know, the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery is the Marvel Rogues Gallery. And he's got all the best ones.
And Mysterio, and just Jake Gyllenhaal did such a good job. And I was sad to see Jake Gyllenhaal die. I mean, because I wanted to see him return. But also I was like, ooh, they actually killed Jake Gyllenhaal. That's kind of crazy. But I think he is going to come back somehow in the next one. I don't know.
Jake Gyllenhaal seems to me like a kind of guy who would just be like, I did it, I'm out.
I don't know. We'll see. He did great, though. Either way, he did fucking amazing. Like, he did so good. But we'll see how that goes. I'm so excited, though, man.
The thing that you gotta understand, there was a period of time when it was cool to shit on the Sam Raimi trilogy, which obviously everybody's well past that. I mean, there's people talk about Spider-Man 2
have always been great.
Nobody's business.
Yeah. It's the third one that always got shit.
Come full circle with that. And the thing, and even when it was cool to shit on that trilogy, the thing you have to realize is that to this day, the original Spider-Man is one of the best superhero origin movies ever.
Oh,
maybe the best, honestly.
It might be the best still.
It still might be the best.
It really might. It's so, like, comic book.
There's probably the most perfect casting in that movie is Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. Mm-hmm. One of the best castings in all of superhero movies. Still,
Tobey Maguire is really good as Spider-Man, I think, too, as Peter Parker. No, Peter Parker. He's really good as Peter Parker. I could see the argument that he's not a good Spider-Man.
I still have some thoughts on that. I don't know.
Okay.
But Willem Dafoe, man, holy crap! I mean, he played that fucking role so goddamn well, and now he's back.
Yeah.
And the world will never be the same.
I will say
that's it. Yeah. That's more exciting to me than J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, well, yeah.
J.K. Simmons coming back.
Oh, I think everyone agrees there too. I mean, that's huge. I think because I don't think people ever expected it to get to this point. I think people were so excited for J. Jonah Jameson being back because it's like, oh shit, we never thought this was gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. Like, no one thought more was going to come from...
Like, this is a fun thing that you did for us. Appreciate it. We'll see you next, but we'll see you later.
And then they're like, J.B. Fox is coming back. And they're like... And then people were like, oh, why?
Yeah,
and then... Yeah. And then
but
this...
He's a good actor, though.
He's a great actor. Yes, we did. This is the one thing I want, man. More than anything... This is what I want. I don't think it's going to happen, but this is what I want. I want this. I want there to be multiple Spider-Mans in this movie. Oh, God. If they brought back Tobey... I don't think they're going to be able to do it, but if they brought back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, it would be... My hype... would be if it was like a Spider-Verse movie. If it was literally a Spider-Verse movie but live action, my hype would be as crazy as Endgame, basically. It would be just... Wow. It would be almost as crazy as Endgame. Imagine that. I'm
imagining it, Joe. I don't know. That honestly doesn't excite me that much.
What? Are you kidding me?
I just feel like that would be so much. Like
it would be so much.
Villains coming in, you can work with that.
Mm-hmm.
But like 3 main protagonists, you have to bring them in. So you have to do the intros to each other. Peter Parker, I'm Peter Parker.
They did it in Spider-Verse.
Do the goodbye. Yes, but Spider-Verse is a completely different animal than what this would be.
Yeah. You're right. They're not going to do it. But
and then, of course, you have to have the wow, we learned so much from each other. See you later.
And
they go through some portal or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think. Okay. I don't think they're going to do it either way, but I do think it'd be kind of cool.
If you get some kind of reference to it or something, or
a whatever. Cameo. I don't need them to play a big role in it. I just want
if they show them through, if you're looking through the multiverse and there's something, yes. But if they interact with Tom Holland, I'm not too into that.
No, honestly. I don't really want that. I don't want that. I want more of.
So we're saying the same thing.
I want more of Tom Holland has to try to not be seen by. There's maybe one scene where he has to try to not be seen by them or something. I think that would be kind of cool. Like an Endgame kind of thing almost. Right. We'll see what happens. I think that's me asking for way too much. I don't think that's going to happen, which is fine. I would also love to see Harry Osborn be back. What's his name?
James Franco?
James Franco. I love James Franco. He's one of my favorite actors in the entire trilogy. He's one of my favorite characters, too. I'll never forget Spider-Man 3 when he eats the pie and he goes, so good.
Yeah, iconic moment.
Dude, it's one of... that. Say what you want about Spider-Man 3. We're going to move on right after this. I'm sorry. I know we got to get into these movies. Say what you want about Spider-Man 3. James Franco in that movie is incredible. And there's nothing that stops that guy from being incredible in that movie. The pie scene, the part where he looks back at Peter Parker and winks and disappears. It's just
wild.
It's amazing, dude. The more I think about those movies, the more I love them, and especially with Spider-Man 3. As bad as I know Spider-Man 3 is as a movie, I love it. I send you those fucking videos all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're annoyed with them at this point, but they're... No. Dude, I think it's so funny. Anyways, that's that. That's my rant on Spider-Man 3. It's going to be exciting, though. It's going to be exciting.
Without a doubt. There's a lot of... Jesus.
I'm excited
We're so in the dark at this point.
Yeah.
We know so little.
I'm excited to see Zendaya
so
back,
much
too.
of what's going to happen.
She's
crazy.
Great. So I'm excited to see her back in it. I want to see what they do with her character. Because, she is more... There's more to do with her character now, especially that she, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. So, we'll see. Wow. Is that it? Did we do it?
I think so. Let's get into these movies then, because this is another thing that I'm excited about. I knew this was going to be a long-ass episode. I think that I have a feeling that we're not going to go through these movies quickly, but we'll see.
The first one, I don't think so. I have less to say about the second one. So, I feel because I feel like the second one that we're doing has been done
that's
so
we should
many
say
times.
Right up top, is that I think the reviews for these movies are going to bleed into each other pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Because they're so closely connected.
And that's the thing, is the second one that we're doing is... It's just been talked about so much, I just feel like there's not much that I can add to it. So I feel like that one will be shorter than the first one. But
Gotcha. Makes sense.
But there's still a lot to talk about. Just anyhow. So the first movie that we are doing, I almost forgot that this is a show that has transitions. Do you want to introduce the second one, and would you rather do this one? So the first movie that we are doing for this episode of Film Juice. This is kind of a weirdly themed episode. We have a throwback, but they're both interlinked, like we were saying. So yeah, the first movie that we are doing is called Mank. Is a movie that we talked about prior on the show. Netflix movie, and is connected to Citizen Kane. And yeah, so Mank.
Mank, it's Orson Welles.
Of course it is.
I think it's time we talk.
What is it the writer says? Tell the story you know. Hello, everyone.
Make yourself to home, Mr. Mankiewicz, or shall I call you Herman?
Please, call me Mank.
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 This is Herman Mankiewicz, but we're to call him Mank.
Mankiewicz. Herman Mankiewicz. New York playwright and drama critic. Turned humble screenwriter, Mr. Hearst. This is a business where the buyer gets nothing for his money but a memory.
So yeah, Mank. Let's talk about it. So this movie follows Jesus Christ.
Herman Mankiewicz.
Yeah, I have it right here. I have it written down. I just didn't have the page up, so I couldn't
Gotcha.
see it. Okay. I have my notes now. This movie follows Herman Mankiewicz. And if you don't know who he is the screenwriter or I guess you could say co-screenwriter for Citizen Kane, one of the most famous movies of all time. A lot of people say it's the greatest movie ever made. Obviously starring and directed by and everything by basically Orson Welles. And yeah, this movie stars Gary Oldman as Herman Mankiewicz. It has a lot of other crazy, the cast is nuts. Amanda Seyfried is Marion Davies.
Mm-hmm.
Lily Collins is Rita Alexander. There was another big name. There's a lot of big names here.
Who played Hearst? Because that guy
is perfect. Charles Dance.
Yeah.
He's nuts. He was perfect for that role. But so anyhow, they crazy cast, and basically it is following Herman Mankiewicz as he is trying to finish the screenplay of Citizen Kane, which I already said, but that's what the movie is about. It follows Herman Mankiewicz. He has 60 days to write the Citizen Kane first draft. And it is not only following that path of him writing, but it's also flashing back to give you some context on who he is and the people he knows, and context on kind of what the movie that he's writing is about. And that's Mank. It is directed by David Fincher and written by Jack Fincher, which I think is David Fincher's brother. So,
that's cool.
I think. Let me
They're unrelated.
Well, they're definitely related. I just don't know if it's brother or not. David. But yeah, you're right. They are unrelated. Yeah. David and Jack.
That's his aunt? That's wild.
What? Oh, shit. Okay, so...
Family tree.
So, apologies. So, she is his aunt, right? Wait,
Dude,
no.
I just made that up.
You made that up.
So if that's true,
Wait.
wait.
Hold on. Who the fuck is this?
Joe is, for people just listening to the podcast, Joe is scoping around like he just found a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence.
This is bothering me now. It's
a cipher.
I need to know who the fuck Jack Fincher is to David Fincher.
Maybe that's a whole different movie. Who is Jack Fincher?
Okay. Jack Fincher is his father. Jesus Christ.
Ooh,
I was gonna lose my
nice.
mind.
I was gonna say Grandpa. That's gonna be my next one.
Okay. Oh my
So
gosh.
glad we got to the bottom of that.
Seriously. So, that's the end of the synopsis. So, it did just come out on Netflix. And yeah, I am very excited to talk about this. I don't even know where to start. I guess the first thing I want to say is this is a very different movie for David Fincher. Like, I've never seen a David Fincher film like this, ever. Because David Fincher makes usually very different movies. David Fincher from Seven, Zodiac,
Bangers.
What?
Bangers. Those movies are bangers, Joe.
Yes.
They're really good.
They are very good. There's another one I'm missing. Gone Girl, Social Network.
Social Network, yeah.
Didn't he do... He didn't do Steve Jobs, but that was written by the same guy who did Social Network. That's why I thought that. But
Fight Club, obviously.
Fight Club. So these are... He's done crazy films. He also directs Manhunter, the series that we've reviewed on here. Or he directs, he produces it and he directs, some of the episodes. Not Manhunter, Mindhunter. Let me just clarify that. So, very different movie for him to direct, I think. It's... From the beginning, it's very noticeable how different of a film it is compared to what he's done. This is I don't even know how to explain it, but they basically take the structure of Citizen Kane, which I think is awesome. They take the structure of Citizen Kane.
Singular.
Sorry, Citizen Kane. And
Citizens Kane. The Citizens Kane.
Nope. They're all very old. They have to share a cane. Okay. Anyway.
Joe.
Add it to the bit. Okay. Add it to the routine. Okay. Anyway. So, Jesus Christ. So, they structure it in a way where it's structured kind of like Citizen Kane, where there's a bunch of these flashbacks interweaved with what's happening in the present timeline in this film. And it's awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah, there's so many references to the movie.
Oh yeah. I like that it's not in your face though either.
No, but the structure is definitely the best thing that they do because it's the same thing. It's telling the story of a man through a series of flashbacks.
Yep.
All different times and
different perspectives.
His interactions with different people.
Well, yes.
But they all are. But the difference is they're all from the point of view of an outside narrator.
Yeah.
Whereas in Citizen Kane, we get the point of view of we know who's telling us a story. And in this case, I mean, who knows? Maybe these visions are Mank's own. That's who we're getting from. But a lot of stuff, references to Citizen Kane, and a lot of visual references to just movies of that time in general. The most noticeable one is the added cigar burn that's in the corner. That's when this doesn't really happen anymore, but if for some people, I think will definitely remember when you would go to movies and there would be it would be actually a reel of film. You'd have a little black oval appear, just blip on the screen real quick in the corner. And that would be where the strips of film were connected. There'd be a little bump, and so they added that in digitally into this movie, and at first I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I like it. I like it a lot as like a stylistic choice. But it was just so much. And like
Was
and
it throughout the whole movie?
What?
Like, did it do this throughout the whole movie?
They did it throughout the whole movie.
I literally, like, maybe I just got used to it. I didn't even notice that. Like, that's crazy.
Really?
I mean, it didn't...
Because what I'm gonna... Okay, so maybe that... Because what I was gonna say is that at first I was like, oh, that's very cool. And it is very cool. But it just happens so much, and... You know, it's just it's a blip when you see it in real life. It's a blip, and there they kind of kept it on a little longer so that you would notice. I felt like
I've seen it a few. I do remember seeing it a few times. I didn't notice that it happened throughout the whole movie. I thought it just happened like a few times. So I must have only caught it a few times.
Oh, do you mean it's not like constantly?
Oh, okay. Then when it that's what I thought you were saying. Yeah. I'm like, no, I didn't think it was constant.
No, it's not constant.
Oh, so when is
but they do it a lot.
Oh, they just do it like when they do it, like, for example, they did it a lot during the flashback transitions, right? Am I correct in that, or am I wrong in that?
No, I don't think they did do it during those.
Okay, well then I might have just missed.
They just did it. They just did it a lot, just in general.
Okay.
Because again, the thing about these, I'm going to keep using this term, cigarette burn, as I don't know any other term for it. I mean, you don't get to pick where it happens. Obviously, this one did, but they're like, you know.
I know what you're talking about now. I was.
Oh, you think I'm talking about just the transitions?
Yeah, I understand completely what you're talking about now.
Okay.
I noticed. Yes, I didn't notice that. I didn't. But I will say I still didn't notice it enough that it bothered me.
It started to bother me a little bit.
I think I just stopped. Like, this is this very similar thing though. Sometimes camera shake like free cam, hand cam bothers you more than it does me, because sometimes sometimes this isn't the case, but I will say sometimes when it happens in a movie, for me, I'll just get used to it. If it's done, like, not as exaggerated as some movies do it, I'll get used to it, and it won't bother me. But, like, in the case of First Man, where I got used to it and it didn't bother me, you couldn't stand it. And I think it was just subtle enough that it didn't bother me, but not subtle enough for you that it pissed you off, which is what I think is happening with this. So
yeah, and not to say that this made me angry, but it's just the thing is, like, in this instance, you know that it's a creative choice, and so to me, with the amount that they did it and the fact that he kept it on there for longer than like a natural cigarette burn would be, and I didn't get out a stopwatch and fucking time it or whatever, but it seemed to me that it was longer than I remember them being. You know, keeping all that in mind, it felt to me a little bit like, okay, dude, like
we get it.
We get it. Yeah. Like, this is, you know, it's the 40s, okay? Like, yes.
Okay.
But it was but I love the choice. Would not have necessarily used it as much or done it, you know, like whatever I just said.
Yeah.
But I like that. But I think it's really cool that he put it in there.
Yeah.
The other thing, while we're talking about this, I want to read what I wrote. I think that a lot of the movie, for so much of it stylistically emulating movies of the late 30s, early 40s, I think that a lot of the blocking and composition was very modern, and that to me felt a little bit like, decide what you're trying to do here.
That's interesting. I don't know if I agree.
100%. The perfect. Here's just a good example. If you'll remember this, it's right at the beginning. So the beginning, again, right away references to things. The opening credits, very much style of the period, excellently done. the so then when they walk into Mank's like little cottage that he's staying at or whatever, that little house, the shot is so wide and so like obviously is so like, you know, there's triangular and the blocking and everything.
Okay.
Like, that just looks so modern, and there's so many shots and compositions that do look just so modern.
I see.
And it felt to me like, you know, you can't have it both ways. Evidently you can, because that's what he did.
Yeah.
But I would have liked it if he had just chosen to commit fully to the look, or not.
That's interesting. I definitely see where you're coming from there. Okay, I see. Yes, so there is. Yeah. There is like modern blocking and camera work, and like they're still like, he's not going like true art film with making it like, you know, like exactly like yeah. But there are, I will say, and like you said, pick one, like, right, like there are instances of not like modern blocking and not modern camera, like they purposely like do certain things like that they did back then, which is great as well.
And a lot of those are references to Citizen Kane itself,
like the newsroom when they were in the writer's room, there was like a lot of, I noticed a couple things when they were in the writer's room,
sure,
from like, it was in comparison to like when they were in the newsroom of Citizen Kane.
Right.
But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is I understand what you're saying and why you like would have preferred if he just picked one. I will say though, I kind of, now that point is brought up and I'm noticing that, I think I kind of liked that he did both, because I think maybe I'm wrong, and I might be completely wrong on this. I think he did all the modern blocking in the present timeline, and he did all of the old-fashioned blocking in the flashbacks. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, that might be what he did, but I could be wrong.
No, I do know that that's wrong.
That is okay.
That would be really cool though, actually. And I like the idea of blending the styles, but
yeah, because I think it's
so
cool.
Blatantly different. It's a difficult thing to do, and especially when you do it in the same scene. In one scene, you have a combination of those styles from like shot to shot, and that was a little off-putting.
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
but I'm saying all this as criticism, but it was still all excellent, except for one thing, and this was just the one thing and I think it's just because of the way that cameras are now. But
yeah,
high contrast lighting was such a huge part of films of that period, and I think that in the certain moments in this movie, Mank, when it was used to emulate that look, it was not done particularly well. I think that the high key light was a little too intense, and because I feel like watching the movies from the 40s, when you have that high contrast, there's still a very, and again, I think this must just be because of the cameras or whatever, but there's still a gradual kind of place where the light and the shadow meet, which makes it more mysterious. And here it was just like boom, just like straight, and it was blinding. Like the light was just so intense, and that didn't feel accurate to me.
Yeah, there's a couple instances where I did like it. The main ones being, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like Mankiewicz is an alcoholic. Very much an alcoholic. And that's a huge theme in this movie. And well, maybe not theme, but that's a huge thing in this movie.
It's a big part of it.
And it's like one of his vices, obviously, and there are a lot of scenes with the high contrast where he is either inebriated or he's getting out of being inebriated, like hung over. And I thought it worked really well in those instances because you're almost seeing how blinding the light is for him in those, like, in my opinion, that's how I took it in those scenes where it was like, it's harsh for him, like, to be in that, like, kind of, like, the light is just as blinding for him as it is for us in that scene. That's why I thought some of the scenes where it was blown out like that, it kind of worked. But
Gotcha.
I don't know if there is enough, like I said with the last thing that I said I wish was true, but it's not true with the blocking. I could be wrong in saying that it might just happen more often than not when he's not drunk or not inebriated at all. Which in that case I don't know. But
yeah.
I did notice it in scenes where it did have to do with the state of his consciousness, and I thought that was cool.
That's a great point, and I think you're absolutely right about that, actually.
So because there are so many scenes where they have the high contrast, like you said, but they don't. Not so many. There are scenes though where they have the high contrast and they don't do that crazy, like,
yeah,
like it's just black and white. So I think it has to be purposeful why they didn't just do that for all of it. But it could be like the cigarette thing too, where maybe they just did it a little bit too much. So
yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, you turned me around. I think that you're probably right in this case for sure.
So
which is, cool. Just the fact that I'm not saying, okay, Joe's right, whatever. But, I'm just saying
no,
that
choice.
Yeah, is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's something that I fucking loved.
Mm-hmm.
The fades were so perfect.
Oh yeah, they were really good.
You could not have done those better. The fades were.
They were seamless. They were.
I mean, ooh.
I'm
getting a little hot and bothered thinking about those fades, Joe, because they were so perfect.
The transitions, the way this movie flows. At first, it's jarring, but this is the thing. In Citizen Kane, it's jarring as well at first. That's Citizen. In Citizen,
sorry, Joe.
No, it's fine. In Citizen Kane, it's jarring as well at first. Like that's just that is the nature of this kind of film, and how it's structured. But once you get used to the flashbacks and how the film is going to be structured the whole time, I think, like, it became seamless, almost. Once you got used to the idea of going back and forth, it became seamless. It was nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. It was perfect.
So
they handled that very, very well.
Yeah, they really did. I think that's I mean, like you said, that's like kind of that's like technically that is like one of the biggest things that they did right with this movie is the transitions and the structure of the film. Like it's kind of nuts how much they nailed that particular part. I quickly want to take a break from the technicality of, because there's more to talk about technically, but I do want to say really quick, because I gotta say something about Gary Oldman. Holy shit, man. Gary fucking Oldman. This guy is... I said this when we talked about the trailer. He is one of the most underrated actors of... Well, maybe not underrated. I think we had a debate about that. But I think he is one of, like, the most underrated actors, or lesser known actors that should be more known. I don't know. I feel like he's... I
guess that maybe his name, when we're talking about, like, crazy great people, his name doesn't come off as often with, like, the general public as...
He's one of the best actors in he's one of the best actors
Yeah.
alive right now. He is easily top 10 actors in my mind.
The guy is a fucking chameleon.
Yeah, he just disappears in these roles. It's fucking nuts. It is insane. And he's just really, really, really great as Mankiewicz. Like, he disappears in the role, and it's very believable. And he's just an amazing actor, and he is what made this film work for me so well. Other than the technicality stuff, he is what you're watching the movie for, is his character and what his character is doing and where his character is going. And there are two scenes that in specific that I loved so much, and one scene in particular that made the whole movie for me, and I think it probably, you would maybe agree with me. I can't spoil it because I would say it's probably the climax of the film, but it is this, I'll just say it is the dinner scene.
Mm-hmm.
That scene, that monologue, all of that was one of the best scenes in a movie I've seen recently in a long time. Or I should say one of the best monologues in a movie I've seen in a long time. That was insane. And his performance during that monologue was unbelievable, I thought. It reminded me of Hamlet and Shakespeare stuff, and that is another huge influence that this movie has. This movie brings up Hamlet and Shakespeare, like, not Hamlet, but Shakespeare like a lot. And the callbacks to Shakespeare in this movie and the parallels that this movie has with some Shakespearean things is amazing. I love it, and I love Shakespeare, so like I thought it was great, especially that last monologue that he has. It reminded me so much of the Hamlet monologue, To Be or Not to Be, with Kenneth Branagh in that movie. When Kenneth Branagh does that monologue, it was very similar to me, and not like saying it's like the same. It's just I got chills. I got similar chills, and I really love that movie in general, but that scene was great. I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I thought that scene was amazing.
No, I agree, but you know what I almost enjoyed more than just him giving that monologue, which is excellently written, was the reactions of the dinner guests.
Oh,
were
yeah.
Really, really good.
I mean, you know what? One guy I didn't mention as cast. The guy who plays Mayor, Arliss Howard, plays Louis B. Mayer. He was also fantastic.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to, yes, and the one part in particular, the one reaction in particular that I thought was the best in that whole thing, it really sealed the whole film, was what Charles Dance's character, William Randolph Hearst, says to him after.
That was so fucking awesome.
Dude, it's
he
nuts.
Brought such a presence to that role throughout the whole time.
Yep.
And then when he finally got to like really talk at the end there, killed it.
Yeah, because he doesn't really talk at all. I think it was a good choice to not have him talk that much until the end too. It makes that moment at the end way more impactful. Yeah, it's nuts. I think it's very interesting. And we're going to talk about that relationship too. I want to wait a little bit to talk about that. But just acting wise, everyone did a phenomenal job. I also wanted to say Amanda Seyfried. I thought she did fantastic as she plays Marion Davis. And yeah, I thought she was great. I also thought Sarah Mankiewicz, the character, so the actress's name is Tuppence Middleton. I thought she did fantastic.
Great name.
That is a cool name. I thought she did great though.
Well, let's talk about what's his name? Tom Burke, who played Orson Welles. That was the one that I was most curious to see.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I personally thought, I mean, you're a little bit more knowledgeable on the subject than I am, but I thought he did a great job. I think his voice was, like, really, really there. And I also think some of his mannerisms, specifically towards the end, there's one scene in particular, and you know what I'm talking about. That scene is where I saw Orson Welles the most, I think.
Interesting.
And it was the one where he actually gets to actually do something, because for most of the movie you're just getting phone calls, which work fine because it's just his voice and he does a good impression of him. But that's when you really get to see him act, and I thought he did a good job. But I don't know. Right. I also don't know Orson Welles as well as like some like people like have like, you know, done like studies on him and stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's an interesting guy. So to give a little backstory, just in case anybody doesn't know, and this, I guess, is backstory that we would have given pre-Citizen Kane, the throwback, next. But so Orson Welles did War of the Worlds radio play.
Yeah.
And through that, he got a 3-picture deal at RKO, and it was the craziest deal that had ever been at the time.
Yeah.
He got free range to do whatever he wanted.
He was a huge theater guy too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Big in the theater. But the radio play is really what got him the deal, because he
terrified people. Yeah.
So he was this golden child, and then of course the first movie that he makes is Citizen Kane. After that, he made some other movies, like he made The Third Man and stuff, which is very good, and some of the cinematography in that movie is unreal.
Wasn't there a darkness, something with darkness? What was the one?
Heart of Darkness.
Is that the one they reference in this movie a couple times?
Yeah, because so that's yes.
Okay.
That's a whole thing.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so he's really quite the character, and I encourage people to kind of look into him because it's fascinating. It's honestly a little sad, but it's crazy. So this version of Orson Welles, when we see him at this time, I think that the biggest part about Burke in this role is that the voice. Yeah, absolutely nailed it.
Yeah,
the voice is great. But I think that his cadence was a little off. So it did feel to me, and not to say that he did do a very good job acting, but not necessarily acting so much as Orson Welles, right? So it felt to me a little bit, just a tiny bit, more like an impression rather than a portrayal.
Okay. I could see that.
Which I think is the best you could hope for, almost, in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. He's in it so little anyway that like it doesn't.
Which is kind of what because that scene that you're talking about when we really get to see him go for it. Whatever you said about that scene.
His acting is like that's where we really get to see him.
Which is when which when you like really got to see. Well, I don't know if I agree with that so much, but I do think for the movie, especially because he is on screen so little, and you have to kind of speed up his progression, so to speak, or at least so the audience can get an idea of the full scale of his character. You kind of have to do that. So that was the part that I was most interested. Well, not most interested, but really, really curious about, was to see how Orson Welles was portrayed and how good of a job Tom Burke would be able to do. And I think that he probably did just about as good a job as you could hope for, almost.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard. I mean, Orson Welles is like such an iconic figure. Like, I think it's pretty tall order to like fill those shoes. So I think
they should do a biopic on him. That would be crazy.
I'm surprised
so
they
you get
haven't.
to see the whole scale.
I'm surprised they haven't done that. But I mean, yeah, he was a very wasn't he? He was a pretty controversial guy too.
Oh yeah.
So he like lived for a long fucking time too. Like he died like when he died, like there was like I don't know. I remember it being like not that. It was more
when he got older. He just like he weighed well over 300 pounds, and he was like all he would do is just like sit and eat and like kind of like yell at people.
Yeah, I gotta look now when he died because now I'm curious. 1985. It's a long.
Okay.
It's a pretty long time.
Just a lot of like he became basically famous for never finishing any projects. Like he would meet with people. Like I think he just loved the meetings, honestly, at the end because they reminded him of the way that Hollywood was when he probably started, and definitely in his mind. And you know that I mean that happens with some people. You just get like addicted to that. Like you feel like you just want to feel like you're doing something important, right?
I mean, I think it's hard for a lot of people in Hollywood to deal with not being the thing anymore. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people like. Identity crisis is a huge issue like that. A lot of like, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but like, you know, that's a thing that a lot of people in Hollywood like deal with, and I'm sure he was just as privy to it as, I mean, with all that like
probably more so.
Yeah, because all that status and like that's crazy. Like being told that you made the greatest movie of all time, that's and it was in the 40s, and you lived for 40 more years after that. That's kind of hard to. I don't know. I think that's if you feel like you can't top that must kind of suck. It's like when people. I mean, it depends how you look at it. Like, I don't, like, you know, it's all about perspective. I just think he probably didn't have the best perspective about it. I will say, though, while we're on the topic of Orson Welles, I saw a quote that I really liked from him from an interview about when he made this movie, or from an interview that was, like, talking about this movie. And the guy asked him, you might know this quote, the guy asked him, like, how did you ever, like, because he was really young, 22, I think. How, like, did you ever, like, making that deal, like think that I'm gonna do this and it's gonna, like, work out and it's gonna be good? And he was basically, like, how did you even tackle that? And he was basically, like, he said, I think, a mass amount of ignorance, or pure ignorance or something like that. Because, like, and then he goes on to explain, he's like, because once you know the game, you start to become more careful about all the decisions you make, and that's when you start, like, worrying more and, like, not, like, you know, being more careful about your choices. But, like, he just went in it, and, like, it's like, you know, it's just like he's not worried about anything because he doesn't know.
Nobody told him what he couldn't do.
Exactly, and that's just. But like that insight, when I heard that quote, that insight is just. I didn't even think about it like that, but that makes complete sense, and that's insane. Like that's nuts. Like, so yeah, I thought that was a cool quote.
I think about that particular subject a lot, and there's this movie called Being There with Peter Sellers that's excellent.
I heard that's good.
And his character in that movie can, like, walk on water because his character is, like, kind of an idiot, and he doesn't know that that's not possible, so then he does.
That's crazy.
So you think about that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting into Citizen Kane territory, so we should probably, you know, wrap up whatever Mank stuff we got.
Yeah. I do want... So, well, this is the thing. I the whole thing about this movie that I found so interesting, the main thing, and I know the main reason people were excited for this movie, and when we talked about it on the podcast for the trailer, you were talking about the conflict between Orson Welles and Mankiewicz. And I remember we kind of thought that that would be the main... We like had like ideas that that could be probably the main like conflict in this movie, which it isn't. It's like... It is like farther from... Like that's the last thing, if anything, like in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because what they replace with that, in my opinion, is a much more interesting conflict. Because the whole movie you're trying to figure out... So, I guess this is what I have to preface this with. I didn't realize... I know you told me this, but I didn't do the research when you did tell me this, when we first watched Citizen Kane together. I know you told me it was based on this guy and, you know, all this other stuff. But I didn't know, like, I didn't look into the history like you did, and I didn't really know, like, you know? So when I watched this movie, and, you know, we see in these flashbacks, he makes these relations with Hearst and, how do I forget her name so much? Hearst and his second wife, Marion. Or maybe it's not a second wife, but Marion.
Yeah, I don't think they were married.
Oh, they weren't married? Oh, they weren't married. Were they just, like, a thing? Were they just dating?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought... Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Well, anyway, while we see glimpses of them in this movie in the beginning, and you see their relationship, and you're like, oh, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And obviously you probably knew the whole time, like their relationship and stuff. But by time I got to the point where I realized he based, you know, these two characters in the movie Citizen Kane are based off of these two characters in Mank, these real people, obviously. I was like, but like, if it's like such a hit piece, why, or not even a hit piece, if it's like so bad for them, why is he slandering them? Like, why? And that's the main question. The main question throughout the whole movie is, why did he do that? Kind of. That's one of the main questions. And I thought that was the most interesting question for me the whole movie, because I had no idea about any of that. And it was super interesting to me, too, because in the beginning, they're like buddy-buddy. Like, so I'm like, where is this gonna go? Where, he just, this change happens. And I want to say, I don't know if they illustrated that change as well as they probably could have. I think that change was maybe not rushed, but like, I just could have seen a little bit more, because I still don't know exactly, like, I get what they're going for and what the change was, especially with the last speech, but I think it maybe, this is a long movie too, this is a 2-hour movie, so like, it's not like it's short, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. I think that
much of the change happens internally.
Yeah, yes,
And
it's not like a...
Mank, I think just the character is not particularly good at expressing that, so maybe that's where you get some difficulty in showing that to the audience.
Yeah, and you know, you realize it's also like, I think it also is, I mean, this is what the movie was telling me, it's also like pretty political with how his relationship changes with Hearst and Mare, because at the beginning of the flashbacks, you know, Mankiewicz is he doesn't care. He doesn't have any dog in the race, basically. Or he doesn't seem to. He doesn't seem to, like, really care that much. But then, as the movie progresses with, you know, the whole Sinclair part and everything with that, you see that he starts seeing the injustice of some of the thing, in his mind, the injustice of what's going on, and he obviously doesn't like it, and all these people that he has relations with support what he thinks is terrible. So, that's what I was getting at. That's what I thought was happening. I don't know. I can't tell if do you agree with that? Like, does that make sense? Is that like, that's what I thought they were going for with how the change in the relationship went?
Right.
It seemed very politically charged, like, in that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of escalated it. Like, I think that the whole time Mank knew that, like, they were always different on the political spectrum. But then when obviously you have a figure like Sinclair, who I don't know if you noticed was played by Bill Nye the
That was
Science
cool.
Guy.
Yeah. It was a little jarring, but it was cool.
Because he's an actor and science isn't real. Shout out to science. Just kidding. Please, no. Oh my god. So, and then Mank getting to then really see, being close to these people and seeing what they do to affect politics and stuff, then it's like, that just was the catalyst to the whole thing.
Yeah, because he... And you really see the ignorance, too, of... And I think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest difference between them and the biggest thing that made him change how he feels about them was not only like you said, once they start getting more involved in, like, the political stuff and how he thinks it's, like, not a fair thing to do, mainly with the films, or the propaganda. But the other thing is, there's that scene, I won't say specifics, but there's another dinner scene early on, and you can really see their ignorance. Other than, like, Mankiewicz, like, is more in the know on a lot of this stuff, but you can really see the ignorance, especially by mayors, about, like, I mean, I won't spoil it, but they talk about Hitler. And there's, like, a lot of that, too. And I think you really see, like... I think Mank's character sees more instances of where people are hurting in the system, but Hearst and Mayer, they're so far from that.
Ivory Towers.
Yeah. I think that's the main thing. I think that's the main thing that, like, separated them. Because... Oh, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's a really good line that Hearst says to Mank that solidifies it all, which is about the monkey. That was like, that was it. Anyhow, I don't want to ramble about it too much, but that was my favorite part about the movie. That was my, like, the thing that kept me invested in wanting to see more was how that relationship was going to progress to the point where he wrote this movie about them. Basically, kind of like a hit piece, even though he's saying he said it wasn't a hit piece.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to realize, of course, that Hearst controlled, just so in case anybody doesn't know, the Hearst media is still around, and they control a very large number of television and newspapers still. I mean, they own a lot of magazines. But he owned everything. So if you're going to get, like, any kind of remotely true story, and I think that there was, of course, a lot of exaggeration because of Mank's own feelings towards Hearst, this was the only way to do it. Yeah.
Yep. And it's really cool. There was one more thing I wanted to say. I really liked that they also showed, and who knows how, I'd like to think that most of this is like pretty accurate, but obviously, like, it's a movie, so things are probably going to be a little different.
Yeah.
The scene with Mankiewicz and Marion's character, or Marion, the scene with them, when it's not the flashback, and I won't say what it's about, but there's a scene with them that's not a flashback. That scene was, like, really that was a satisfying, it's weird to say satisfying, but it was satisfying because it answered a question, and I don't even know if it's true, but the movie proposes this question, like, oh, how are these people are going to feel about it? That was the main one that I wanted answered, because Hearst got pissed.
Yeah.
I had no idea how, because Marion, the whole time, there's never a moment where, like, it seems like he dislikes Marion. They seem like to be friends the whole, and maybe like a little too like friendly sometimes. So like, there was that vibe throughout the whole time with their friendship, and I think that scene in particular did a good job kind of answering, like, I mean, it didn't answer anything because you can't answer anything. He's dead and you'll never know. But I don't know. It like, he literally was like, I'm not like trying to do a hit piece on you. It's just, it's accurate. It's what you know what, I think that's kind of what he was going for basically. And then they literally make an agreement, which I thought was kind of nice. I thought that agreement was nice. Where he literally was like, you know what I'm talking about. I thought that was cool. I don't know. It was a nice scene. That was a very, like, I guess cathartic in a way. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, I know we're talking about this a lot. We do got to move on. I'm not going to lie though. This movie, I thought the directing by David Fincher was amazing. I said that before, but he really did kill it. Amazing. We'll talk about this more with Citizen Kane. And I'm not going to compare them too much, because they are obviously very different movies. And one is kind of working off the success of the other. But I definitely think that I enjoy this more than Citizen Kane. Doesn't mean one's a better movie than the other. I personally enjoyed, that's obviously subjective, but I definitely enjoyed this storyline and this because this movie just shows so much more insight on what Citizen Kane was actually about. But at the same time, if I never saw Citizen Kane, I would not have enjoyed this movie that much, because then what's the point of me watching it, right? So it's weird. It's like a joint deal. It's like this is Rogue One and Citizen Kane is A New Hope. Like
Damn, I like that analogy.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's this movie I enjoyed more because it gave me all this insight, and I loved the insight that it gave me, and I thought it was a much more compelling and interesting story. But at the same time, this movie's nothing without the source material, and if you don't watch the source material, this movie is instantly probably not as enjoyable. So it's really tough. That's my like conundrum. Like, I enjoyed this movie more, but I also understand that it's nothing without Citizen Kane. So it's very interesting.
I definitely disagree that I enjoyed it more, but I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. And we'll talk about it more when we get into the next one, obviously. But I think I'm ready to review this sucker.
Rate her up.
Yeah. This was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. I did not have high I was hoping it was gonna be good, but I was honestly worried it was gonna be too art housey. That's not what I really wanted. Like, I like art house films, but I didn't want it to be like pretentious, and I was very worried. Yeah. I was very worried that this film was gonna be pretentious, because this film could have easily been pretentious, and it wasn't. I think this movie was it knew exactly what it was, and it did it great. One more point I want to make that'll lead to my rating. Going with the structure again, not only with the structure of this film, another big point of this film that takes from Citizen Kane, very purposely, I'll add, is Mankiewicz. The Mankiewicz story is very similar to Citizen Kane's story, in the way where it is following a character that it is a character study, obviously, and it is following this character through, and it's not like an uplifting like story. It's like it has, I don't know how to explain it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, I think the story parallels are very similar, not just structure, like how it's structured. Like, I think the story of Mankiewicz, they purposely framed it in a way to make it similar to Citizen Kane's story. And I think that is a testament at how universal the story of Citizen Kane, as simple as a story as a lot of people will say Citizen Kane is.
I don't know who is saying that, but all right.
Not simple, but like okay, well, we'll talk about it. But I'm just saying, simple's probably the wrong word, but I'm just saying it's a basic story. Like, summed up, it is a basic story of this guy, and you can sum it up. That was a bad summary of it. But
just keep on digging, Joe.
I'm gonna just listen. It's this basic story, and when it comes down to it, and I think the bones of that story can be put across the elements.
Yes.
But the
story's definitely not.
Okay, that's what I mean. So what I'm saying is that is in this movie, and I think it shows the testament of how timeless this story is and how relatable, and you can, well, maybe not relatable, but it's interesting to watch, and you can put it in a lot of different movies. Anyways, that's what I was trying to say, and it's a cool story. And I'm gonna give this movie, oh man, because I really can't think of anything I didn't love about it. Like, I will say I don't think I have any interest in rewatching it. Like I don't think I'm gonna rewatch this movie anytime soon. Maybe I'd rewatch it once. I would rewatch it one time. So you know what? I can't even say that. I'm gonna give this movie. Oh Jesus. I'm gonna give this movie 9 juice boxes out of 10. I think that's what I have to give it.
Book.
What?
I was just looking at one of my books I got. But yeah, I have to agree. 9 juice boxes is the way to go for this movie.
Yeah, I want to give it 9.5, but I don't necessarily think I can give it 9.5.
Yeah.
So it's close though.
It's very good. I really liked it. I was definitely
good.
worried about it because, as I'm sure a lot of people were, because of it's a lot to live up to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I was really
involving Citizen Kane. So, but great, very good story. It definitely didn't feel. I was worried a little bit also that it would feel kind of like oh, nobody talks about Herman Mankiewicz and
no, that's a very small
and it didn't feel
portion.
like it at all.
Oh no, that's like the smallest portion of it. This kind of reminded me of oh my god, that one famous reporter. They made 2 movies on him.
Matt Lauer.
No. Oh my god, he had a very high pitched voice, and he's very famous. He was on talk shows. He was an alcoholic and a drug addict. He was famously played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. God, dude, once I say his name, you'll know him exactly. But this reminded me a lot of that movie, of those movies. Hold on, let me just look up Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it'll come up. Once I say his name, you're gonna know it right away. Capote.
Okay, yeah, I knew that's what you're talking about, but I had never seen it, and I didn't know what his deal was.
Okay, so Capote. This is very similar to Capote. And it has the same similar bones as, like I said, same similar elements from Citizen Kane, which is cool. So yeah, anyhow, that, yeah, that's all I had to say about that. And, very good indeed. I was very worried it was going to be boring, and that's what because I was really worried it was going to be boring, and it was not boring at all, so that was very good. The beginning was, like, a little slow, but it gets into it right away. So yeah, let's get into the throwback of the week. Let's do it. Andrew?
Yes. The throwback this week, as we have said, 1941 Citizen Kane.
There is only one man who can rid the politics of this state of the evil domination of boss Jim Geddes.
Hooray!
I am speaking of Charles Foster Kane, the fighting liberal, the friend of the working man, the next governor of this state, who entered upon this campaign
with one purpose only, to point out and make public the dishonesty, the downright villainy of boss Jim W. Geddes' political machine, now in complete control of the government of the state. I made no campaign promises, because until a few weeks ago, I had no hope of being elected. Now, however, I have something more than a hope. Jim Geddes has something less than a chance. Every straw vote, every independent...
So, like Joe said, by a lot of people, this is considered the greatest movie of all time. It was #1 on the American Film Institute's top 100 greatest movies. It was on there for years. I think not too long ago it was bumped by Vertigo. But it might be back up. It's all over the place. But now, is this the greatest movie of all time?
I think that's a silly question.
You have to, yes, agreed. You have to do it, but I do think that this is the movie that is responsible for all of modern cinematography. And I think that if you put it in context of the year that it came out, I just really, really consider that you are in 1941 sitting in a movie theater and this comes on, blow your fucking mind. Blow your mind right off your body.
Yep. That's the huge thing, is like the time this movie came out. Like it's a movie that could be made. If this movie was made today, people would be like, "Oh, that was a well-made movie." Like, because that's how well made it is in 1941. Like, that's fucking nuts.
Crazy. So, and that's another thing. It's aged very well, which is difficult to do, especially in the sense that there's a lot of makeup in this movie, and the makeup looks good, man. Like, the makeup holds up. I think it's probably got some things going for it, like the fact that it's, the whole movie's in black and white. Maybe some of the cameras back then and stuff. I think it helps it for sure, but it looks good. Man, where the heck to even start with this movie? So as we mentioned, Orson Welles got this crazy 3-picture deal from RKO, and right after War of the Worlds. So there was a lot of stuff, RKO kind of asking people, like, what would you like, Orson Welles, what kind of picture would you like to see Orson Welles make? And a lot of people said science fiction, obviously, because of War of the Worlds.
Which he never
Some
did.
folks said Heart of Darkness. Welles that was the original plan, was to do an adaptation of Heart of Darkness, which I'm pretty sure is a book. And like a play and stuff.
So did that movie never come out?
Maybe later.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Because I was curious about, like, because they mentioned that. So
But they were originally that plan was to do that as the very first one.
Okay.
So Herman Mankiewicz obviously gets kind of the inside track on Hearst and everything. Wells hears about this and is like, "We gotta make this movie. You gotta write this thing. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be the biggest thing." So they kind of do that. William Randolph Hearst, hugely influential guy, and insanely rich. 3 out of 5 people read a Hearst paper. He had 25%. He owned 25% of the most expensive art in the world. He had the second largest private zoo in history.
That's nuts.
And he controlled public opinion for the most part. Because he controlled the news. And when word got out that RKO was going to put out this movie, Hearst, obviously he didn't want it to come out because everybody knew it was about him.
Yep.
He threatened that they would never write another review or anything of an RKO movie in any of his newspapers ever again.
He called Mankiewicz.
He threatened the theaters. He's like, "We'll never do stuff for the theaters," and he threatened everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So RKO calls Orson Welles in a panic and is like, he's threatening all this stuff. And Orson Welles is like, "That's perfect. Here's what you do. Set up tents outside of the theaters and show the movie in tents and call it the movie that nobody wants you to see," right? Which is huge. I mean, you have to go see that then. So then I guess this little story here real quick is that after the movie came out, Orson Welles and Hearst were in an elevator together. And they didn't say anything to each other in the elevator. This is apparently, I mean, if they were the only ones in the elevator, then who knows what happened inside of it. So,
yeah.
But when the elevator finally got to where it was going, where Hearst was going to get off, without even like looking at each other, Wells was like, "So, Mr. Hearst, did you see my film?" And Hearst said, "I've never seen it, and I never will." And he gets off the elevator, and Orson Welles yells at him. He's like, "Kane would have seen it. Kane would have seen the film." And just imagine that moment. Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Whether it's true or not, that's what I've heard is true.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah, we could talk about just the stuff surrounding this movie forever. And also, I'll just say real quick, on a personal note, William Randolph Hearst, also the reason why marijuana is illegal, because not only did he own the newspapers, but he also owned the paper mills.
Oh.
And he owned a bunch of forests that were, of course, you chop them down and you use them.
That's crazy.
And if marijuana and hemp had been legalized, they would have used that to make paper of a better quality and at a cheaper price, and he would have lost a lot of money. So he is the one responsible for this idea of reefer madness and everything like that.
That's crazy.
And causing all the racist stuff that's like surrounded the criminalization of marijuana and stuff. So
that's nuts.
So that sucks.
Well, he didn't seem like a great guy in Mank.
Definitely not. But what's so interesting, and this is so they mentioned this in Mank, the way that Hearst was, and then it's so cool to see it in Citizen Kane is kind of the trajectory of that character, because he starts out as an idealist.
Yeah.
And then he gets so focused on money, basically, that things kind of fall apart. And
yeah.
There's definitely stuff that's kind of like a big joke on Hearst, like the fact that Xanadu is never finished and things like that. It's just wild. But yeah, so like we said up top, this movie I think is definitely the reason for all of modern cinematography. The camera movements right in the opening when it's going into Xanadu, never been done before. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The use of man, I keep wanting to like re-mention stuff about Mank when talking about this, but so this movie, there's a lot of very deep depth of field in this movie.
Yeah, there's no like blur.
Yeah, which I think really just accentuates the largeness of Kane and the largeness of what he becomes as a person, and then sort of what he builds around him.
Which is why one of the shots in it is really cool. The shot of there's this cool optical illusion shot, you know, the one he's walking from the table because everything's falling apart around him basically. He's walking from the table and he goes to the back and the window doesn't seem that small, or the window doesn't seem that big, and then as he goes into the background he shrinks and you can just see like everything going like just falling apart around him basically. That's like the best shot in the entire movie for me. That's like no, that's not. It's like it's one of my favorites. It's one of them for sure.
But you bring up a good point, is that the use of optical illusions basically in these weird practical effects is it's just done so well. Like, it's not like those things hadn't been used before, but they use it so much in this movie. And like I said, it's just done. Like, you can't do it any better than that if you're going to do it practically.
You know what I didn't realize until I rewatched it and I looked more into it? A big thing with this film that I didn't realize was a big thing, like, you know, because I haven't seen many 1940 movies, or I don't remember them well enough that I, like, noticed it. But they didn't film there's a lot of shots in this movie where you see the roof of the building, of the set. And that was a very new thing, I guess, because in most films around that time, they would avoid showing the roof of the set because there wouldn't be one. They would have all the microphones and lights up there.
It's all on sound stage.
So they in this movie put like a very thin like roof, I guess, on the top of the set, and they just put everything like hidden in there, and it like still worked out fine. But like it's like really that's a really big deal for this movie, because there are so many low-angled shots in this movie which are very important, and that's one of the things that makes this movie like so visually like look so much different than a lot of the others from that time, is how much freedom of movement they used, like that they had. So like, and it's a huge theme obviously with the film, like you have to have a low angle shot to show Citizen Kane, especially in the beginning when he's up and coming. He's this huge figure, he's this huge force. Like, they have to be able to emphasize that visually. So the fact that they did that with something as simple as a low angle, which almost was never done in previous films, like, that's a pretty big deal. It's pretty crazy. Like, I'm not saying this movie originated the low angle shot, but it's definitely one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. Well, I bet you a lot of that comes from Wells's theater background, right? And
exactly.
Used to that, having all that space and stuff.
Yep. That's the same thing with the depth of field, too. I think that also comes from his theater background. He wants everything in frame, and he wants emphasis not because of focus, but because of movement and blocking. And that's exactly what they did.
Yep, absolutely. There's there's just so much to talk about. One of the other very interesting things about this movie to me has always been the fact that, you know, we're following this reporter, Thompson, and we never see his face. Clearly, we get a profile a little bit, but like we see his nose and like part of his glasses, but we never see his face, and that's just
cool.
It is cool, and it's just so
because he's not important. Like he's important,
Right.
but he is more or less us. He's more or less the audience.
Yes, exactly.
So you can't give him a
that
face.
Goes into the whole like, not just us, the audience watching it, but the public within the movie
That too.
has seen Charles Foster Kane.
Yeah.
As one thing or another.
It's a very meta movie because I didn't think about how I didn't realize how meta it was until I saw Mank, because I didn't realize how close to life it really was based off of. Like, holy shit, like it is very close. Like, I like how Mank tried to say that it wasn't based off of Hertz like a few times, because bro, that is bullshit. It was so big. Like, it is like literally like side by side, like very similar. Like he uses the same speeches, I think, a few times. Like this is just like a historical fact that I like saw. Like he used like a lot of the same like lines that he said in his actual speeches and stuff that he gave to the public. Like, I don't know, man. It's nuts.
That's the whole, like, just the name Citizen Kane, right? Like, that's almost like a punch in the face, because when you have a guy like Charles Foster Kane, a guy like Hearst, he is a private citizen. He's got so much influence, but he's a private citizen. And he obviously thinks that he's above so many people and that he knows what's best for him, but he's a private citizen.
Yeah.
So that's interesting as well. And of course, just the whole structure of this movie is learning about a man's life through a series of flashbacks told by the people that knew him. So then, of course, we're within that, we're getting into, like, there's so many narrators in this movie, and obviously we're getting their point of view. So how true is it really? So there's Rashomon elements in this. It's so wacky. And just across, it's so crazy just across the board, because like, in those moments, being Orson Welles and being Herman Mankiewicz, you have to write and perform that character so differently, scene to scene, based on who the information is coming from.
Yeah. I think
because Leland, obviously, who played by Joseph Cotton, who I think is great in this movie. A lot of people are great in this movie, but I think he's a standout. And I just like him a lot as an actor. Leland sees him one way, Susan Alexander sees him one way, Bernstein definitely sees him one way, and then Thatcher sees him a whole different way.
Yeah, it's cool that's like one of the coolest parts, and that's the main difference between Mank and this movie. That's one thing Mank couldn't have done, is get the different perspectives. So like, and I know you said that, but like, so like because one of my favorite parts about this movie is the fact that they don't just like, it's not just when these people and these characters are being interviewed, it's not like they're just spewing the narrative and there's no bias. Like, each perspective has bias. Yeah. So not only we are getting their version of it, like, we're not getting like an omnipotent view of it, we are getting their specific version. So the versions of Kane change depending on who's telling the story, and that's very cool, and it's very important, because a lot of movies wouldn't do that. A lot of movies just do the omnipotent thing, which is fine, because most of the time you're not making a movie like this. But with this movie, it works super well to do that.
And it's even crazier in the scenes where we see, like, the same moment in time from the different perspectives. Like Susan's opening night at the Opera House. We see that from Leland's perspective, and we see it from Susan's perspective. And it's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously because of like where they are that night, but Like that's so crazy, dude. Like this movie's insane.
Speaking of the opera house scene, two shots that are really great. Obviously, the one that a lot of people like and I like, but it's not my favorite in that scene, is the one where he's like the only one clapping in the. Right. I think that's just more that's more of a favorite moment. That's a very good moment. Yeah. But favorite shot in that scene is the one where it one of the great camera movements that they do in this movie that there's a bunch of, and I want to talk about a couple more, but this one is when they move from her singing, what's her, I should say her character's name.
Susan Alexander.
Yes, Susan Alexander. They, it's not a tilt, I guess dolly or crane, I don't know. They move it up, they move the camera up from her, and it like goes up all the way into the rafters where you see like the people all the way up there, like the crew working on it, and two of the crew working on it, and like you can see their reaction, which is very cool. That's a very cool shot. And like there's a lot of shots like that where you're like, damn, like that's nuts, like how they did that back then. That's why this movie aged so well, because the techniques and the movements not only set precedents for other films today, but also it's still the modern, like it's just still the modern standard, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing, is this movie looks very modern, and it's insane at first when you see it and you're like, oh, okay, here's an old movie, you know, you watch it for the first time, and then it looks like this. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable, and you're absolutely right. And the thing about the precedents that it's set is that they have not really been expanded upon that much.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like, it's nuts. I do want to say, while I'm talking about shots, just really quick, the two other ones I already mentioned. No, there's two more that I wanted to mention that like stand out to me. The one, which is when me and Andrew watched it for the first time, I remember I like made a comment to you. I literally like, well, you, not your first time watching it, my first time watching it. I remember I literally like looked over to you and I was like, whoa, that's fucking nuts. It's when it's when the camera it's like one of the first shots or the first interviews. It's when the camera goes through the glass like ceiling, or the glass roof. It literally like goes around the building. Like I can't even imagine the setup they had to do that. I actually didn't look up like how they did that scene. I should have, but I did look up how they did the other shot that I'm about to talk about, which is it's a very like simple shot, but it's the shot where they're in the house. It's the parents in the house, and they're talking about getting rid of Citizen Kane or Charles. They're talking about getting rid, like, you know, getting rid of him basically, and the camera like dollies back, and it follows the mother like going to the other room. So it dollies back, and as it dollies back, it like goes through a table. So like it literally like in the movie it looks like the camera just went through the table. And it's really cool how they did it, cuz you can do that. You can do something like that now super easy. You don't need a crazy rig. Like it's a pretty simple shot that you can do now. But back then they had to make a custom table that like broke apart in the middle and then came back, which I think is like, and they literally did it live on the set. I think that's like a really cool thing. I just learned that today because I looked into it. I thought it was a really cool, that's just an example of like a really cool subtle thing. That's like such a subtle thing. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do that, but they did it because Orson Welles was also a perfectionist. So like, I mean, isn't there that, there's that rumor that there was a take that they did like a lot of time. Well, they did the Rosebud take only once, but there was like another scene. I think the scene of the sled or whatever. I think I heard like that scene took a long time. I don't know. There's like I just heard he's a perfectionist and like he like there's some things that he was like very like persistent on. But anyway, I think that's all I had to say about that. But I just wanted technically like this movie is phenomenal. Like that's the thing is that technically this movie is pretty perfect. And that's why I think it gets like such high praise because of like the precedents it set and when it came out. Best movie of the like ever, like I think that's a stupid question. I remember when we first watched this movie, I cared way too much about that question. Because because that is such high expectations to give to a movie. Like because like, and this is before we even did Film Juice, right? Like, we just talked about, like, and, like, yeah, we have our favorite movies of all time, like, sure. Doesn't mean it's objectively the best movie ever made, which is what a lot of people gave this movie. Which, I mean, that's their opinion, obviously, but I think it's a very silly expectation, because I had that expectation going into it. Wrongly, well, yeah. I mean... Like, and now watching back, like, I don't obviously anymore. And that is a much more enjoyable way to watch this movie, not thinking that it's going to be the best movie ever made. Because I was waiting constantly to be blown away by this movie when I first watched it. And that moment never came. There was a few, like, woes. There was a few woes, but it wasn't like, that was the best. When I was done watching that movie, I remember I was like, that's not the best thing I've ever seen. And that's the wrong way wrong way to look at this movie. That's a very stupid way to look at this movie.
Which I think is something that a lot of people fall into, though, because you're absolutely right. That's how it's always described and always discussed. I think that, certainly if you put it into context, it's mind blowing.
Yes,
and you definitely say there's arguments that it's the most influential film of all time for sure. Which is probably more accurate.
Yeah, I could see that.
But in certain ways, that's definitely true.
But it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I know we gotta wrap things up.
Yeah, we probably should. We've been going for 3 hours.
Yeah, I do just want to say, I think. I do just want to say, the reason why I like Mank more than this movie, I enjoy Mank more than this movie. Not that one is better than the other for me. I think I prefer Mank just because of the story of Mank, and I enjoyed getting the extra context for this movie.
Right.
It made this movie better for me as well. Like, it's a very interesting, like, relationship with those two movies. So, and what I was saying before, like, the story elements of this movie are pretty simple. It doesn't mean that the story of it is simple, because the story of it isn't that simple. It's just the elements of it are pretty simple. Like, the bare bones of this movie can be summed up quickly. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie. That's just one of the things that I think, when people watch this movie and expect it to be the best movie ever, that's one of the things that's like, well, that's not like a crazy story. Well, yeah, it's like, it's more about, in my opinion, the technique of the film, and I think that's the big draw of it. Technically, I think this movie's amazing. Narratively, and I'm gonna get some, like, woes. Narratively, I enjoyed Mank more. And that's just, that's how my preference works.
Look, I hear you, and I think that's a very interesting perspective. So, I mean, I can't say you're wrong. I definitely feel the opposite way.
And there we go.
That's the movie.
That's the movie. That's Hollywood, baby. So You want to rate this movie?
Yeah, this movie without a doubt has to get a 10 out of 10 in my book.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the structure of this movie is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And for everything that it does technically, and for everything that it influenced technically, there's no other rating than 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so it's tough. I'm between two scores right now, and I'm pretty sure you can guess the two scores I'm between. It's tough, because like I said, no matter what, this movie's getting a higher rating than Mank. I want to preface that. The thing is it's getting a higher rating than Mank because the technicality of it, not really because of my enjoyment of it. I'm putting my enjoyment second in that regard, because I cannot deny that this is a classic. Mank is not a classic. This movie's a classic. The issue here is I don't know. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because it is technically
Good choice.
It is technically amazing and very influential. But the reason why I had an issue giving it a 10 and I almost gave it a 9.5 is personally, I don't think this is just not a movie that I love rewatch.
Yeah, see, that's just personal preference, because I am that way with this
exactly.
movie. I think this movie's very rewatchable.
Exactly. That's why I almost gave it a 9.5, just because a big thing for a 10 for me is how much I enjoyed it and how much I want to rewatch it. But at the same time, I'm giving it a 10 just because this is a very unique scenario where this film, I'm looking at this film almost pure technicality wise and not personal preference wise. Because this film kind of does deserve it with how influential it is. That's the big thing. So, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. But I could also give it a 9.5 out of 10. If I gave myself an hour to think about it, I could probably convince myself to knock it down to a 9.5. But right now I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the only way to go with this movie. And I know that if you this movie has flaws for sure.
There's that big plot hole that everyone talks to death about, which is the Rosebud, that who heard him say Rosebud. That's the huge plot hole that everyone talks about, because he died alone. So who was there to hear him say those words? Which is a plot hole. Don't get me wrong. It's a plot hole. But it doesn't really matter. It's not in the grand scheme of things. I'm not going to give it a 9.5 because of that. The only reason I would have... That would have been stupid. The only reason I would have ever given it a 9.5 is because of my own personal preference of how I see this movie, and why I think it's not as enjoyable as another film, and why I wouldn't rewatch it as much. But I can't deny how influential it is, right? So.
Yeah, but also I'm pretty sure one of his nurses heard him say Rosebud.
That's what everyone. That's what you're supposed to .
I get that it's not plausible necessarily because he said it so quietly, but.
And he was
literally what it is.
Yeah, so there's it's a debated plot hole. I think it's a plot hole, but I also just don't care. But yeah, so that's that. This is a movie we avoided doing for a long time, actually, which is interesting. Because we've talked about doing it on the TV show, and we purposely didn't do it on the TV show because of how much it's been talked about already.
Yeah.
Because especially when we did the TV show, we wanted to pick throwbacks. We had a lot bigger pool of throwbacks, too. That, that were less known, and that was a bigger deal to do. But this was the perfect time to do this than any other, if we were ever going to do it. because of Mank coming out. So, yeah, very, 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 very good stuff. I do want to say one more thing before we wrap this up, and it goes back to Mank. This is something I did want to talk about with Mank really quick, and we kind of, it's an important thing that I do want to mention. The whole storyline with the one guy who helps make the propaganda, the promotional films for the Hearst and Meyer, that was like, I overlooked it when we were reviewing it, but I think that's like one of the best like layers that this movie brings to the story, because it actually showed the consequence in Mank's personal life to what those did. Because, like, on the surface level, you could probably be like, it's not that big of a deal. But, like, they actually showed, like, the damage that it did to, like, personal, like, to someone. And I think that's I think that was, like, a huge, like, a big thing. Like, that was a good thing, that was a very big thing that they could have easily not have shown, but I'm very glad they did show it. Because it added a lot more depth to the scenario. And it added a little bit more understanding to Mank's feelings. And to just, like, I don't know, it's a very, it makes a lot, it adds a lot more depth to the whole story. And, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So anyways, I really liked that part a lot. I mean, I didn't enjoy it. It was sad, but I liked it. Like, I liked that they included it. So yeah, that is Film Juice this week, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, we, the first one, I'm trying to think how to do this because I was gonna like promote the watch party, but again,
right, but it already happened.
So
I would just do,
from the future. If you didn't watch the watch party, if you couldn't make it, it will be on our YouTube right now. Go on and watch it if you wanna enjoy. Go check it out. It's pretty. I'm sure it'll be a really fun experience. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of laughs. And it's gonna be more of like a Film Juice after dark kind of thing, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm gonna be drinking a beer, gonna be enjoying the good times.
I probably will too. It's on Friday.
Yeah. It's on a Friday. We're gonna be watching a silly movie. I'm sure it's gonna be fun. So so check that out. And we have there's been a lot of information, especially on watch parties, on our social media. And you should follow us on Instagram at film_juice. You should also follow us at filmjuicepod, as filmjuicepod is actually being used on Twitter now. Because I've been slacking on that a lot. But now it is more active. Still, definitely follow Instagram, because it's just you get those thumbnails and those are great. So yeah, I think that's all there is. That's all there is to it this week. I'm gonna say it because I've been saying it all these other weeks. There is news. There is more stuff still coming, even though this is the big thing that we've been like working on for a while, to get together for a while. There is more stuff happening still. There is still more stuff coming. So be on the lookout. I don't know the timeline for that stuff, but it is going to happen. So check that out. And yeah, I think that's all there is to it. Same time, same place. Not really. I'm Joe Dorado. I'm gonna have to stop. Hey, you cut out. Let's roll that back. Let's roll that back.
Okay.
Hold on. You're like frozen. Sorry, you literally were frozen. I couldn't let you end on that. I don't have to repeat myself. Go for it.
No, nor should you. And I'm Andrew Canada. We'll see you next time at the movies.
Andrew, you got to do it again.
And I'm Andrew Canada.
No, wait. I got to wait for your screen to come back. Okay. You are back.
And I'm Andrew Canada. And we'll see you next time at the movies.